podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, October 24th, 2021. This is episode 1840. A programming note, do not despair if you don't get a new show next week. Lisa and I are going on vacation. First vacation in more than a year. We're going to go to Mexico for the Day of the Dead. We will be out of pocket starting this Wednesday, the 27th of October, all the way through November 4th. That means no new Tech Guy shows this coming weekend, Halloween weekend. That means no new podcast. Tech Guy show is going to do reruns. You don't need reruns on a podcast. You can just listen to an older podcast. So we're going to skip next weekend. Do not fear if you don't get a podcast next weekend. You will get one November, 6th, with episode 1841. The next show will be November 6th. I just wanted to warn you ahead of time so you don't think something broke. We're just out of the country. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you this week by Codecademy. Join the millions of people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you. Get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code TechGuy. And by userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. And by Bandwidth. Bandwidth understands the challenges enterprises face when migrating their communications to the cloud. That's why Bandwidth launched Duet for Microsoft Teams, the only complete solution for direct routing and Microsoft-certified E911 available direct from a carrier, designed to simplify your migration to Teams direct routing. Request your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/twit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, augmented reality, virtual reality, real reality, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to talk high tech. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you could still reach us, but you've got to use Skype, something like that. Something that'll let you make a call from the internet to a telephone. And it should still be free because it's a free call. 8888 Ask Leo, the website. And this is important if you don't want to write something down, if you hear something that makes you hopping mad, if you want to, I got to remember that website. If there's anything, you're listening to the show and you go, give me a pencil. Don't. First of all, you're driving. Don't write anything down. But here's the thing. This is all you have to remember. TechGuyLabs.com. That's a website. That's our website. It's the show notes. Everything that happens on the show gets written there. Thanks to James DeRuvo, our scribe, including links and so forth. And then if you're angry, you can also leave a comment. Or, and I think this is more common, you've got a suggestion or a better idea, leave a comment. And all of that's free. There's no sign up. For the comments, we ask you log into Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, I don't know, whatever it is, Google. And that's just to slow down spammers. We don't care or do anything with that. But, we don't want the place to be overrun with spammers, and it would be, believe me. So you have to put up a little bump in the road for those guys. TechGuyLabs.com. There's also, there's 1,840 shows, or there will be after today. This is show 1840. And there's also audio and video from those shows, the older shows, because we record everything and put it up there. So you can just go right to 1840, hour 1, 2, or 3, segment 1, 2, 3, or 4, drill down and find that bit, watch it, listen to it, that kind of thing. TechGuyLabs.com. Big tech, the battle against big tech, I have very mixed feelings over all this. The U.S. Congress, the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Justice, various attorneys general across the country, and the European Union, even Russia and China are piling on here, all trying to figure out what do we do about big tech. some of it, I fear, some of it is just we don't like companies or people to get too successful. So if they get really, really big, what is Jeff Bezos worth? Almost $200 billion as a human being. If they get really, really big, we got to cut them down to size. So that's some of it. And, I understand that, especially if they don't pay taxes. If Jeff Bezos pays, billions of dollars a year in taxes, I'm cool with that, man. He's given some back. And all of them start charitable foundations, but usually they don't give as much as they would in taxes. So, but it's not merely that, of course. It's the real question of how much power these companies wield in our lives. And as they get bigger and bigger, and this is the legal question, are they doing things to keep anybody else from following their footsteps? That's really what monopoly is all about. Can a company get so big that they keep competitors out? And of course, that's bad for everybody. It's bad for us as consumers because, once the only place to go shopping, for instance, is Amazon, well, the prices, they set them. It's the company store suddenly. You're at their mercy. So that's not good. It's also bad for innovation. I think that's even worse because, it's funny. In the late 90s, Microsoft got called on the mat by the Department of Justice for being a monopoly, and there was a long 10 years battle back and forth and depositions and so forth. And in the end, Microsoft kind of got off with a slap on the wrist, a consent decree. The threat was they might have to be broken up. They didn't. They just had a guy who sat in their offices and said, well, I don't know if you should do that. What do they call that when you get a guy in there representing the people, The long-term effect, though, I think it's safe to say now, 20 years later, almost 30 years later, is that it slowed Microsoft down. It did, in fact, keep them from being so aggressive and so powerful that they kept others out of the game. And as a result, we had Google. We had Amazon. We had other players come along. And, when Google started, it was a little guy. Microsoft could have snuffed him out. But, so that's the question. And, Facebook certainly has shown this tendency by buying companies like WhatsApp, trying to buy Snapchat, which they failed at, to not to put them out of business, but just to bring them in under the umbrella of Facebook, and that way they can't be a competitor. And then if they can't buy them, as they couldn't buy Snapchat, then they try to kill them by copying their features, and that's exactly what they did with Instagram, hoping that users from Snapchat will migrate, put Snapchat out of business. They tried. They failed at that, by the way. This is why I'm a little concerned. I don't want to see companies just cut down in size just for the sake of it. The question really is, are these companies so dominant that nobody else can play? Are we missing on the next big thing because the current big thing is so big nobody else can get in the act? I think that's a reasonable question. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I have qualms in both directions. Watch, because there's something going on now with Google and Facebook, in effect, that is a big deal. And this comes out from a lawsuit by the Texas Attorney General. And the documents are now finally released, unredacted. It's a Google digital advertising antitrust complaint filed in the Southern District of New York, Texas, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri. I go on and on. All the states got involved in this. But we're now seeing the complaint, and yikes. This is kind of interesting because it's so behind the scenes, so inside baseball that probably you and I, most people are just going to go, well, I don't understand it, I don't care. But Google basically has used their market clout to dominate online advertising. In fact, and this comes from a tweet from somebody who's been reading the unredacted now complaint. Google has a secret deal with Facebook, this is part of the complaint, called Jedi Blue. They knew it was so illegal. There's a whole section on the deal with Facebook describing how they'll cover for each other if anybody finds out. And what they're doing is ad market manipulation, guaranteeing that Google wins. This is their big business, by the way. It's, search is not their business. Search is what they do, like Android and Gmail and all that other stuff. But what they make money on is online ads. And they have done everything, apparently, according to this complaint, they can to manipulate the online ad market. Look, the thing that's so stunning about this is how blatant they were, how aggressive they were, how blatantly illegal it all is. But the problem is, I think for normal people, they're not going to really understand. It's hard to understand what this is all about. I can tell you the impact of it affects all of us. Because if you're a business and you want to advertise, lots of places you can advertise. Of course, this radio show would be one, and television too. But online advertising is a multi-billion-dollar business and growing fast, soon to eclipse all the others. And if one company does illegal things to dominate it, it means the pricing will be out of whack, other players will be limited, and it's bad. It's bad for any small business company that wants to advertise. It's bad for anybody who wants to come up and compete with Google. They have been buying up right and left all the other competitors. They own most of the online advertising. It's a technical and complicated argument, but it is, if you read it and you understand what's going on, an incredibly indictment of Google. The company that said, "Don't be evil," was their motto. Under the hood, behind the scenes, where no one really could see what was going on, they were being extraordinarily evil and illegal, according to this indictment. Now, of course, it's going to have to go to court. Google's going to get a chance to defend themselves. So I should say alleged in front of all of this. But a lot of it is based on documents, that these attorneys general got from Google in discovery. It explains a lot of things that people like me who are watching closely were suspicious of anyway. Google's big public announcement, "Oh yeah, we're going to protect your privacy. So we're not going to allow something called third-party cookies anymore." But the truth is that doesn't disadvantage Google. It only disadvantages their competition. Google doesn't need cookies. They own the browser. It's very interesting. You know how when you're using a browser, you are logged into Google at all times? Yeah? Why do you think? This is from the complaint. To make this happen, Google first introduced the ability for users to log into the Chrome browser. Then Google began to steer users into doing this by using deceptive and coercive tactics. For example, Google started to automatically log users into Chrome if they logged into any Google service. You notice that as soon as you logged into your Gmail, boom, oh, hey, convenient. You're logged into everything, YouTube, everything else. In this way, Google took the users that choose not to log into Chrome and logged them in anyway. If a user tries to log out of Chrome in response, Google kicks them out of the Google product they're in the process of using. Go ahead, try to log out of Chrome. Suddenly, YouTube, you're not logged in anymore. You notice that? Or Gmail. So you have to log in again. On top of this, again, this is from the complaint. This is alleged. Through another deceptive pattern, Google got these users to give the Chrome browser permission to track them across the open web and on independent publisher sites like the Dallas Morning News. These users also had to give Google permission to use this new Chrome tracking data to sell Google's own ad space, permitting Google to use Chrome to circumvent reliance on cookie tracking technology. Brilliant. It's an interesting story. I know it's kind of inside baseball, but everybody should care about this because it has long-term effects on what you pay for things, what small businesses pay for advertising, who wins, who loses. It's a really good example of why companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft should probably be under some scrutiny and need to behave themselves because they are so powerful. So, yes, I did mention I am getting on a big old jet airliner on Wednesday, flying down to Rio. No, only in my dreams. Flying down to Oaxaca. We go to Houston first and then Houston to Oaxaca. Going to spend the week there where the Day of the Dead is apparently the city in Mexico to be in for the Day of the Dead. And then with our friends, Mike and Amira Elgin, that's going to be so much fun. And then other friends. And then we're going to fly back the following Thursday, November 4th. So I will miss a weekend. We'll do reruns for the Halloween weekend shows, so no podcasts. And I will be back for the following weekend to do the Tech Guy. In fact, I guess that's the first show I'll do back because I'm not getting back till the 4th. So the 6th will be my first show back with the Tech Guy. Yes, Embrar. Yes. If there's one thing Kim Schaffer is not doing, is staring at the phone.
No.
They're ringing off the hook for her. Kim Schaffer is our phone angel. She answers all your calls at 8888 Ask Leo. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you enjoying the rain?
I am staring out the window, and it is pouring rain.
I love the rain cam.
This is, we have a camera pointing out my office window. This is when California turns green.
It's so nice.
We've been golden.
People outside of California do not understand our joy.
I said the other day on the show that we hadn't had rain in 8 months, and people were like, "What? What you talking about?"
And
you know, it's funny. I'm going down to Oaxaca on Wednesday, and their rainy season just ended. So they won't have any rain. They'll be nice and green.
Nice.
I don't know how that happens.
What you're planning?
Mother Nature is, what is it the kids say?
Insane? Hormonal?
She's whack.
She's whack.
Mother Nature's whack.
Because, when you don't have rain for 2 years and then you get it all in one day.
Fire. She's fire. Why do the kids say those things? I guess we did. Did you have, so when I was a kid, I still said groovy and far out.
I say that
right
sometimes
on.
and
Still?
people go,
You're very 60s. Yeah.
I can't remember.
Lit. Mother Nature's lit.
I can't remember
I know what you
my
said.
terms
You
were.
said hella.
Hella, yes. Hecka and hella.
Hecka and hella.
Hecka first, and then I graduated into the hella.
It's like Wicked in Boston.
Wicked.
Wicked good. Who should I talk to?
Oh, I love this call. Let's see. Michael in Union City on line 4. It had something very interesting happen to him with his Apple Watch.
Michael. Thank you, Kim. How you doing, Michael? Welcome to the show. Is it raining in Union City?
Oh, yes.
Crazy.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Michael. What can I do for you?
Okay, I got a strange thing happen to me a couple of weeks ago. I was driving here. I hit the speed. It's like a pothole, right? And suddenly my phone started calling 911.
I shouldn't laugh because that's not cool. That's not cool. Yeah, so Apple has something called fall detection built in. And I've had this happen to me when I was doing warrior push-ups where you've got weights in your hands and you're thumping the weights on the ground. And the watch goes, oh, looks like you had a fall. Now, the watch is set to say, I'm going to call 911 in 9, 8, 7. They count down. So obviously you didn't notice this. So there's a couple of ways you can remedy this. A, you could turn off fall detection. And that's in the settings of the watch. You want to make sure that the watch's haptics, what should have happened is you should have felt on your wrist the watch kind of going crazy. So I would go into the settings for sounds and haptics and make sure that those haptics are turned up so that you can feel that's Apple calls, that's the buzzing that the watch does. And so that's another thing you might want to take a look at. Depends on whether you want to turn off fall detection or not. I think fall detection is pretty good. In fact, I got my mom an Apple Watch because she's 88, and I thought that was a really good way to protect her. But if you're not prone to falls or you're prone to driving on very bumpy roads, you might want to turn that feature off.
Okay, but you did not give me the warning.
It's supposed to. It does give you a warning. You just didn't notice. And that's why I'm saying what happened is after you went over that bump, it then said, looks like you've had a fall. I'm going to call 911 if you don't say anything. Because what if you passed out? What if you bonked your head? But it gives you a countdown. The problem is you didn't hear it or see it because you had it silenced and the haptics turned off. So turn those up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's usually pretty good. But again, if you see it's going off a lot, did you stop it or did it actually call 911?
Yeah, actually called. I had to hang it up.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. I would look at the settings for fall detection. Let me see if you can change how sensitive it is, because that might be another issue. But that's the fall detection going on. There's also so it's under emergency SOS, and actually I think you do it on your phone. I'm looking at it on my phone under emergency SOS.
Okay, I'll check that.
Yeah, check fall detection. Cannot detect all falls. It gives you emergency contacts, which you can put in. That's an interesting question is, can you change the sensitivity? And I guess you can't. So you can turn it off if it's bugging you.
I listened to you for years. This is my first time trying to call, and I got through.
Yay, Michael. I'm so glad. Are you from Union City or just driving through?
I've been living in Union City for over 30 years.
Nice. My dad lives in Redwood City, just up the road a piece. So we get down there a lot. Very nice.
Okay.
Well, thank you for listening, Michael. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice talking to you.
Nice to
Thanks.
talk to you. Take care. Yeah, I mean, that's a great feature. I like fall. I leave it on because I'm, paranoid. It's never called 911 without me knowing. It has gone off, and I've always said, oh, no. I don't know if you can, I don't see fall detection. Let me see if emergency. Yeah, I think you might have to do that from the phone. I don't see it in the, and, if this happens a lot, of course, 911 is going to be complaining because that's obviously not a good thing. Yeah, and they usually will call you back and say, hey, did you just call 911? Are you okay? They've obviously agreed to this, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't see any separate thing for fall detection. Let me look in. Let's see if it's in general. Yeah, I think you might have to do it on the phone. Looks like you're going to have to do it on the phone. It's in the emergency. Go open the Apple Watch app, and then it's in the settings for emergency SOS. See right there. And you could turn it off. It seems like there should be other things. But the other thing I would suggest is make sure you've got your haptics turned on and up, because it's supposed to buzz the heck out of your arm. They don't want it to happen without your knowledge. They only want to do it if you pass out. I wonder if there's a way to turn off the automatic 911 stuff. That might be. Because you can, as you saw, I had two contacts in there. I had my wife and her sister in there. So that would be, for me, that would be enough. Yeah, I don't see anywhere else. Look at sounds and haptics, though. Make sure that you don't have to have sounds turned on. The haptics will buzz the heck out of your wrist. So haptic alerts, turn them on. I make them prominent, so I'll feel them. And I feel them, man. I know when my watch goes. Mike B says you should keep it on because you're a senior citizen. That's true. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time for the car guy. Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. His podcast, Wheel Bearings, all about cars with Nicole and Robbie. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you
Do
today?
you wear an Apple Watch?
I do not.
Because I imagine
do not
when you
use,
drive,
Apple devices.
you get bumped.
I'm an Android guy.
Yeah, so this is, by the way, what the Apple Watch says. Thank you, Scooter X, in our chat room for pasting in the Apple instructions. If your Apple Watch detects you're immobile for about a minute, this is after a hard fall, It begins a 30-second countdown. So now you've got 90 seconds while tapping you on the wrist and sounding an alert. The alert gets louder so that you or someone nearby can hear it. If you don't want to call emergency services, tap cancel. When the countdown ends, your Apple Watch automatically contacts emergency services. If you want to see how many falls you've had, it's automatically recorded in the Health app. Unless you say, of course, I didn't fall. So check your fall history, Michael. See if, maybe there's something. It should not, I've triggered mine a couple of times, not from falling, but from like dropping weights and stuff. And maybe I just did it there. Usually you get enough time to turn it off. I was just thinking, if you're driving in a race car, you probably have to turn that off because,
Yeah, you probably would not be wearing an Apple Watch if you're driving in a race car.
No.
But actually, there's an interesting application of you've got infrared cameras, an infrared camera inside your Mustang Mach-E, and of course GM Super Cruise has that as well, that they use for doing the driver monitoring system when you're using the hands-free system. And one interesting potential application of that, one of the things that those automakers are looking for is they're looking to see that you're still watching the road,
right?
When you're using the hands-free system, so you're
if
ready to
my
take over.
eyes are closed, it would know it's actually looking at my eyes.
Yeah, it's looking at your eye gaze, so it's looking for your eyes, looking to see where you're looking. And so, in addition to being used for these hands-free driving assist systems, it could also potentially be used for just as a basic driver monitor system. And frankly, I think that this should be, if they're going to make any new kind of regulations, this is something that should be mandated for all new cars, because it can be used just when you're driving, when you're manually driving, to see if you're drowsy or perhaps drunk or incapacitated, if your head is bobbling around, or if you fall asleep while you're driving. Those are very, very dangerous situations. And that's, a lot of crashes are the result of drowsy driving or also distractedness. You can have all the laws you want saying that, drivers can't be using their phone while they're driving, but there's to do that, to enforce that, there's got to be a police officer actually, seeing you doing that. But if you have a driver monitor system like that in your car, whether you have a heart attack or you're looking down at your phone, that can detect that you are no longer in control of the vehicle and try to alert you, either audibly or if the vehicle's got haptic seats like some GM cars do, and then if you don't respond, then turn on the hazard lights, bring the vehicle to a safe stop, and call 911 using the telematics system. And that's what GM and Ford are doing on theirs.
Oh, that's really cool. That's kind of similar, huh? You don't need a watch. You got the Bluetooth.
Well, it only works when you're in the car. It's not going to detect a fall.
Yeah. But I'm talking about driving. It's nice to know that you can get emergency services, because here's the problem: if you have a wreck, you might be unconscious and you might need it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And a lot of automakers, a lot of newer vehicles that have connectivity in them, they will, if the vehicle is in a crash and the airbags are deployed, they will automatically call 911 and provide the location of the vehicle, and in many cases also some information about the severity of the crash, so that first responders, when they get there, they have some preparation. They can have an idea of what they're dealing with even before they arrive at the crash scene. So that's a really important thing. If you have connectivity, you should make sure that that's all turned on.
So I'm kind of surprised you're not in Austin today for the one and only U.S. Formula One race.
I actually went to Indianapolis yesterday instead.
Oh, even better.
Down there.
Is that what you're sitting in front of? I see race cars behind you.
Yeah, I went to the Indy Autonomous Challenge yesterday, which it's a student design competition that was launched about 2 years ago, and they had the finals yesterday. And this is for university level engineering students. They had teams from Europe and North America.
This is for rich students, because these are Indy cars. They're expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they didn't have to pay for the cars. They got
that's nice.
sponsors.
Okay,
the cars are worth about $3 million a piece. These are actually Indy Lights cars. So this is one step down from the cars that run the Indy 500. There's a ladder system, a different performance levels.
But the interesting thing
up the ranks
about these cars, there's nobody driving them.
That's right. They were equipped with LiDARs, radars, camera, GPS, and the student teams had to develop the software to control them. So the teams that entered, they were provided with a car that was built by a company called Dallara. They build racing cars. They build Indy cars as well as the Indy Lights cars. And this is based on the Dallara IL-15, which is the car they've been using in the Indy Lights series. When they've run these cars at Indianapolis on the oval, they average about 195 miles an hour.
Yikes.
Yesterday, driving, in self-driving mode, the top speeds, the fastest time or the fastest speed that any of these cars hit was about 157 miles an hour.
That's still fast for a self-driving vehicle. That's kind of impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
It's obviously not as in most ways it's not as tough a challenge as trying to drive around a city, but it's a different kind of challenge. Driving at high speeds.
Well, you only have to turn left, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. You're only turning left, and there was no other vehicle. So these were the original.
They're
plan
alone
was
on the track
in a 20-lap race, but it turned out they weren't far enough along to really be able to safely do that. So they ran time trials. Each team, the cars went out for 4 laps. They left the pits, had to drive out of the pits, do a warm-up lap around the track, and then 2 hot laps that were timed. And then on the 4th lap, they had to come to a stop and then negotiate through a chicane. They put some barriers out on the track, and they had to go around the barriers safely. Of the 9 teams that competed, only 4 completed the full challenge. One team from MIT and Pitt and Rochester Institute of Technology, their car went out on the warm-up lap, coming around the 4th turn, the last turn at Indy. Just before they were accelerating to go down the main straight to do their timed laps, it suddenly decided to turn left and turn into the inside pit wall and crunch the left front corner of the car. So
do not mock, because these guys have come so far. Remember the original DARPA Grand Challenge, the first attempt to get self-driving vehicles, and they would often go 5 feet and go off the track. I mean, there was very...
Some didn't even make it to the start-finish line.
So we've come a long way.
I'm just trying to illustrate how difficult the challenge this actually is.
Yeah,
this is really, really hard.
I totally know you're not.
And the fact that they were able to go, that fast safely was quite impressive. Now, as a racing fan, I'm not particularly interested in watching autonomous race cars race each other. I'm more interested in seeing what drivers can do. But as an engineer, I like that there are competitions like this to enable students to get an opportunity to work on a challenging design problem and learn from it. And that's what this is all about, is learning from it and training. So it was good that they're doing this, and I think they're already planning for the next round of this, hopefully next year. So it was a lot of fun to go down there yesterday.
Self-driving vehicles. This is the future. Sam Abuelsamid, he's our car guy. Guidehouse Insights, and of course, Wheel Bearings at wheelbearings.media. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
Yay. You want to stick around?
Yeah, sure.
You have somewhere
so
to be.
No show next weekend then?
No show. You have the weekend off because I won't be here, and everything is pre-recorded, and I'll use some segment that you did a while ago probably for that. But that's fine. Yeah. Not everybody hears every show. I want to give them a chance. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Sounds good. All right. So let's see. We had I was talking about the mobile drivers. There are sensors that are being put in a lot of cars, like Leo's Mustang Mach-E, all the GM vehicles with Super Cruise, and a lot of other vehicles. These infrared cameras are similar in concept to what Apple does with the iPhone Face ID system, and so they're illuminating the driver's face, and the reason they're using infrared is so they can see the driver's face in the dark as well as see through sunglasses. So what they're looking for is head position and the eyes, looking for where your eyes are looking to make sure you're actually watching the road. So right now these systems are designed for these hands-free driver assist systems where the driver is still supposed to be supervising, but what they should be doing going forward is just making this a standard feature on all vehicles, whether they have hands-free driver assistance or not, just to provide that detection of either drowsiness or distractedness, or if the driver becomes incapacitated for some reason, if you have a stroke or a heart attack or whatever it might be. I know, there have been times, and I'm sure there's probably every driver in the world has experienced this at sometimes where they've just been really tired. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a long road trip. I was starting to feel tired. So I pulled off at a rest area and just set the timer on my phone for 20 minutes, put the seat back, took a 20-minute nap. It's amazing how much that helps. Just a quick 20-minute cat nap can really improve your alertness. So if you're ever feeling tired, do that. Don't try and push through because that's really, really dangerous. And if you can take a little rest, get up and walk around, and then get back, and you will almost always feel much, much better. You'll feel much more refreshed. You'll be much more alert and safer on the road. And hopefully in the future, we'll have these kinds of sensors being put in all cars so that we can detect when the driver is alert. Today, we're using torque sensors in the steering wheel to try and detect wheel motion. That's not a very reliable approach. The vehicle I was driving to Indianapolis yesterday, it has a lane keeping assist that's using a torque sensor like that. And I was driving for long stretches on a straight ahead road, and my hands were not moving. The steering wheel was staying steady, and it was giving me false alerts that, hey, put my hands back on the wheel. My hands were on the wheel. So you need a more reliable way of detecting driver distractedness or inattention. And so systems like this are really good. During the next break, I'm going to talk a little bit more about a question that Aaron K. Mack had in the chat about Android Automotive or integrating Android Auto into infotainment systems. And we'll get back to that during the next break.
Awesome.
And I will give it back to Leo.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Hey, I had a chance to drive the Rivian pickup truck this week.
Oh, what'd you think?
It's really good. Still got some stuff they need to work on, but it's really, really good.
You had the choice between the Lightning or the Rivian. Hold that thought. I think these guys are swell, and I've been referring you and our listeners to Codecademy for years. Often get a question, well, I want to learn Python. Where do I go to do it? Codecademy. There's never been a better time to be a computer programmer, by the way. Salaries are up. Demand is up. You can write your own ticket. You can even often work at home. And with Codecademy, you can get the skills you need to get that job on your own terms, whether you're starting from scratch or you already know some coding and you want to advance. Codecademy can help you reach your coding goals. Simply put, Codecademy is the best way to learn to code online. And I've been a member since they started. They not only teach you job-ready coding skills, they also help you build unique projects for your portfolio so you can say, look, I did this. They've got certificates you can earn. That helps too. They even can help you prep for technical interviews. Sometimes they give you those problems and you have to solve them on the whiteboard. They're ready to do that. They help you. The thing I love about Codecademy is the minute you start any class, you will be coding immediately. No, installing software and do all this. It's right on the webpage. You actually start writing code and it gets reviewed immediately. And if you did it right or wrong. They've got lots of help for you. It's really fun because you're coding from day one, which I love. With Codecademy, you can get qualified for in-demand jobs in as little as 2 months. You can learn at your own pace, at your own level. Choose what you want to learn. They've got it all. building websites, analyzing data. They just added a whole Swift track. This is actually probably my next Codecademy class because I want to learn the language that's used to program Mac computers and iPhones. They say that the M1 chip is basically a Swift machine. So learning Swift, very valuable. Another skill, very useful, Python, especially for data science. HTML and CSS for web page design, SQL, JavaScript. They've got it all. Codecademy. In fact, they've even got a great feature right there on the front page where you say, I don't know what I want to learn. You can go through a questionnaire. It doesn't ask you about your technical chops or skills, but more about how you think, whether you're analytic or you're, and you go through the questions very quick, few minutes, and it'll tell you, they told me I should be a computer scientist. I should study computer science, which I agree with. My wife, who's very mathematical, very analytical, they said, you should be studying statistical language like R. I thought, that's great. They're absolutely right. When you're working at Codecademy, you get instant feedback. Your code is tested as soon as you press the submit button, so you always know if you're on the right track. They have, and I've used them even if I haven't taken the classes, great cheat sheets, which are very good for referring to if you're learning a language, if you've learned a language and you can't remember, which is happening to me all the time. Some wonderful tools that you can test your knowledge with tailor-made quizzes just for you because it learns what you're good and bad at and gives you some challenges. It's a great interactive program where you're learning by doing from day one. And of course, there's a big community. Codecademy's community is over 50 million people now. It is very popular, and it should be. It's the best way to learn. You'll get help from other learners in the forums there or connect with people near you in your local Codecademy chapter. Yes. So build your portfolio, get a certificate of completion, make yourself more marketable to future employers, then land your dream job and, whatever you want, web development, programming, data science, computer science, and so much more. Join the millions of people learning right now how to code with Codecademy. See where your coding can take you. 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership. That's what I've got. When you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code TechGuy. That's promo code TechGuy, Codecademy, CODECADEMY.com. 15% off when you use the offer code TechGuy. Codecademy.com. Get that 15% off the Codecademy Pro. Then you can take classes to your heart's content. It's kind of fun. For me, it's also a great way to polish up, keep my chops going. Because they give you little problems and you solve them and they go yes or no, and here's where you would need to work. It's really good. Codecademy.com. Offer code TechGuy. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. A little bit rainy, at least here in Northern California. Randy on the line from a place that is no stranger to rain, Seattle. Hello, Randy.
Hey, Leo. Speaking of rain, this time of year, Seattle gets into its rainy season. And about 2 weeks ago, the weather people mentioned a term that I never heard, that they're warning us we'll be getting bomb cyclones of rivers of rain.
Isn't that awesome? That's something to look forward to, a bomb cyclone. Yeah, they call it an atmospheric river that's dumping on us right now, and it feels like it too. A river from the sky. Right. Yeah. Hey, it's good to talk to you. What can I do for you today?
Well, I have two things. My main thing is a question I have about an HDMI problem after a current Windows update, and I do have a truly 30-second quick, easy, and cheap, if not free, solution to all those people that don't like the Apple TV remotes.
Oh, give me the quick solution to that, because Apple did release another Apple TV remote that I think it looks like, I don't have it, but it looks like it's a lot better. But what do we do for those of us with the old remote? Yeah.
So everybody, if not most people, if you look around in your drawer, you have an old VCR or DVD remote that you don't use because you don't use those technology anymore, but the remotes work. What you do is you go to the home screen on your Apple TV, go to settings, and somewhere down in that menu, you'll see an option that says remote control. Under that setting, you'll see an option that says learn remote.
Oh, nice.
And Apple TV will walk you through, okay, now push what button you want to be the out button. And then there's a bar on the screen, and it lets you know when it's time to lift your finger and move on to the next button you want to I've never heard anyone talk about it, and it's so easy and cheap rather than having to go out and buy a remote or suffer with the one with the TV.
So it sounds like almost any remote can be used with the Apple TV. You're not stuck with that dumb remote that Apple designed. That's good to know. Good tip. Thank you. Now,
so with the HDMI,
let's talk about that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. HDMI question. Head in.
So yeah, I have a 10-year-old computer which has been working fine. I mean, it came with Windows 7. I kind of kicked and screamed it through Windows 8 updates, and I have coaxed it through the Windows 10 update in recent years. Everything's been fine. It's an all-in-one computer, and now in one of the recent updates, my HDMI inputs do not work.
Oh.
I've tried everything. I mean, I about 3 months ago, I had an Apple TV, which I used with the cable, and that worked fine. And then since then, I haven't used it. But then yesterday, I got a new third-generation Amazon Fire TV and plugged that in, and nothing's coming up. And I did a lot of troubleshooting. I went into my Alexa app and looked under devices, and sure enough, it said that my new Fire TV had been registered and that it had a good signal and it was connected. However, there's no connection to that and the TV. I then took out my Apple on TV, which worked, 3 months ago before one of the recent updates, used the same cable that worked with that 3 months ago. And now the Apple TV doesn't work either. So something happened with my HDMI input after one of the recent remotes. I went into device hardware and I looked at there, and it says I have a NVIDIA GeForce 620M driver that's up to date. I called Windows.
So let me just ask a couple of questions before you go much farther. Sure. So this PC, which is 10 years old, has an HDMI port on it. It's the NVIDIA card, has an HDMI port. And you've been connecting devices to watch TV on your computer through that.
Yes, to be a bit more specific, it's an all-in-one computer. The monitor is the computer as well.
Yeah, so Sony has built in this feature, which is not typical on a computer. Usually HDMI ports on a computer are output ports, not input ports. But Sony, because it's Sony and they think you might want to use that nice display for TV, has an input. And it must be just one of, are there other HDMI ports?
There's two. There are two HDMI imports, but I'm a little confused. But
one's out and one's in, I would expect. It's not typical to have an in-port on a computer, unless a company like Sony, which is a TV company, says, for instance, if you're a college student, you don't want a TV and a computer, so you got this nice all-in-one. You can plug a TV into it. I actually have a Vio that does the same thing, so I understand that. It just when you go to that port, you don't see anything at all. It's a black screen. You don't see anything at all.
Well, what happens is when you plug it in, there's a button on the side of the monitor, computer, whatever you want to call it, and it cycles through all the inputs: video, PC, TV. I mean, I have an antenna. But when I go to HDMI, it says no signal. And
it bounces around, says, I'm not seeing anything. So is it always with the cable or the Fire Stick you plug in directly into that port?
I tried both. The Fire Stick, as you know, comes, you can plug it in directly.
So you've tried both.
A little adapter to give it some space.
Yeah, but it doesn't work even if you plug it in directly. So we know it's not the cable. Sometimes with HDMI, it's the cable. I'm going to guess, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure why it stopped working all of a sudden, but you can almost always blame HDMI problems on the high bandwidth digital content protection, HDCP, built into them. And that's all about keeping you from pirating content.
Right.
And in order for HDCP to work, everything on the entire chain, the input, the output, the cable, all has to be HDCP compliant. So we know it's not the cable. We've eliminated the cable because it still doesn't work when you plug it in direct. And we know these devices work. So I'm wondering if maybe with the Windows update, HDCP compliance was broken.
I did call Microsoft and I let them take control of my computer using Quick Assist, and they confirmed that I have the proper updated driver.
So the drivers are all correct, and you're using Windows 7, 10.
I think it's H2 or H1N1, one of those.
The other possibility seems unlikely. I mean, your hardware's worked before, so we know that the devices, both the Apple TV or whatever device and the TV, have worked together before. So it isn't something about HDMI versions. I think it has to be HDCP.
It has, and it's coincidental that it's since recent Windows 10 update.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Windows, Microsoft, the problem with copy protection is the only people copy protection inhibits are honest consumers, because pirates go, oh yeah, it's HTTP, and I have this little plug-in, I put that on there, and it doesn't work anymore. But normal people are the ones who run up against this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft in this latest update did an update to HDCP at the behest of the motion picture companies, and that it's broken it. You might do a Google search on that model and the term HDCP and Windows 10 just to see if if this has happened, then others will report this. It could be the driver itself. You might, with a video card driver, there's never just one version. There's the Microsoft Hardware Quality Lab version, which often lags behind. Right. There's the reference version from NVIDIA. There's the version from Sony, and there may even be others, and there's even older versions. So one other thing you could try is, yes, you have the, quote, correct driver, but maybe that driver has an issue. You can try other drivers that would be compatible, even an older driver. It may be that the updated driver has a bug that's causing the problem. So that's the other thing to do is try other drivers. And you'll see there are a whole number of drivers you can try for any given card. And even go backwards. Even roll back.
Yeah. Progress isn't always progress.
It isn't. In this case, it could be an intentional change to protect the motion picture industries against you evil pirate. Or it could be a bug, and reverting to an older driver might solve that. That's the only thing you're going to be able to do. It's not a hardware problem. It's a software problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, Sammy. Your time is now.
All right. So earlier on in the chat, Aaron K. Mack was asking about Android Auto being integrated into directly into the vehicle and the infotainment systems. And the way that's happening is through Android Automotive, which is actually something different from Android Auto. Basically, what Google has done is they've created a version of Android that is optimized for basically being an operating system for the entire infotainment system. So today, most vehicle infotainment systems are running on either QNX or Linux, and we're now seeing a bunch of automakers adopting Android Automotive, which allows them, much like with Android on phones, they can license the software for free, the operating system for free, install that in their vehicles, and then they have the option to include either include or not Google Automotive Services, which is analogous to Google mobile services for the phones. That gives you the suite of Google's proprietary apps like Google Maps, Play Services, the Play Store, Google Assistant, and a few other things. Right now, the first vehicles to come out on the market that have Android Automotive infotainment and Google Automotive Services are from Volvo, the Polestar 2, and also the new Volvo XC40 Recharge, their battery electric version of the XC40. Both have Android Automotive with Google Automotive Services. So when you get in those vehicles, it's got a unique skin, much like Samsung and other phone makers will put their own skins on Android. So it's got a Volvo specific skin on it, but it's got the Play Store, it's got Play Services, got Google Maps, and you can log into your Google account just as you would on an Android phone. You can download apps that run directly in the thing, and you don't have to use your phone. And they're also going to have support for Apple CarPlay. So if you're using an iPhone through that, you can still connect that and have CarPlay. That's not actually enabled yet for the Volvos. That's coming soon. Renault in Europe is also using that. GM is about to launch a bunch of vehicles that are using an Android Automotive-based system. They will also have the Google Automotive Services. The first one, starting with the Hummer EV, the 2022 Chevy Silverado and Sierra, the Cadillac Lyriq. They're all going to have this system, this new infotainment system. Ford is adopting it in 2023 or 24, I think. Stellantis, formerly known as Fiat Chrysler, also has an Android Automotive-based infotainment system. Their Uconnect 5, but Stellantis has opted not to use Google Automotive Services. So they're using Android Automotive as the operating system, but instead of Google Maps, you're going to get TomTom Maps. Instead of Google Assistant, you get Alexa Voice Services and a few other things. And they've got their own marketplace for Android apps that you can download in there. So it's more like, for example, using a Kindle Fire tablet as opposed to something that's running standard Google version of Android. I did earlier this year. I was on All About Android with Jason Howell and Florence Ion and Ron Richards, and we talked a lot about this. And I'll drop the link again to that episode in the chat. And we talk about it in more detail, the way Android Auto and CarPlay work versus what Android Automotive does. Also in the chat, we've had a conversation going here with Will C. He apparently has just gotten rid of his Chevy Bolt, and he's looking for a replacement. He was asking about the VW ID4, which is VW's first new EV for North America, asking whether it's got self-driving capabilities. First off, nobody, including Tesla, actually has true self-driving capabilities. They're all driver assist systems. That's nobody in the world is selling a vehicle that is actually self-driving. So all these vehicles still require the human driver to be supervising and ready to take over. That said, the ID4 does not have a hands-free type of system like GM Super Cruise or Ford's Blue Cruise. Right now, the only EV, and actually I don't think Ford has yet released it widely, is Blue Cruise, which is similar to GM Super Cruise. So it's a hands-free system for highway driving. When you're on a divided highway, it will let you take your hands off the wheel when you're centered in the lane, and it will do the steering for you and keep you in the lane, as well as controlling your speed to the vehicle in front of you. Both of those systems are using an infrared camera to monitor the driver to make sure you're staying alert and watching the road, paying attention. And if you look away from the road for more than a few seconds, then it will start to alert you and tell you to put your hands back on the wheel and take over control. If you don't respond, it will bring the vehicle to a safe stop. As far as alternatives to the Bolt, EV alternatives to the Bolt, the Mach-E is a very good one. The ID4 is also very good. The Mach-E is a little more expensive than the ID4. It's also a little higher performance. It's a little bigger. So depending on what you're looking for, those are options. If you're looking for something maybe a little bit more affordable, there's also the Hyundai Kona EV. My podcast co-host Roberto Baldwin and his wife just got one recently. They just leased a Kona EV. While the Kia Niro, which is based on the same platform, is also available as an EV, also another really good electric vehicle. They both have, the Niro's got 240 miles of range. The Kona is 259 miles. Newt in the chat is asking about whether Germans build with original steel while Japanese use recycled steel. Every automaker uses a mix of recycled and virgin steel. Nobody that I'm aware of uses entirely virgin steel. It's, in fact, so-called virgin steel is almost all includes some recycled steel as part of that. One of the great things about steel is it is very easy to recycle, and most of the steel from vehicles and other applications does get recycled, gets put back into the material stream, and gets turned into new material for new products. And that includes everything from cast iron to all kinds of grades of steel. It almost all incorporates some amount of recycled material in there, so it's not all produced from virgin raw materials, which is a good thing. And the same is also true of aluminum. Most of the aluminum that's used, the aluminum products that we have, does incorporate some amount of recycled aluminum, because the metals are actually one of the easiest things that we have to recycle. It's very easy to melt it down and reform it into new products and make new alloys out of it, mix it with different other alloying elements. Like steel is basically iron mixed with carbon. That's the core definition of steel. And depending on other elements that you can add in there, other metals, alloying elements, you can get different properties of it and how you treat it. And the same is true for aluminum. It's a mix of aluminum ore, bauxite.
What's going on? I come back and you're giving a metallurgy class. Hey, I gotta take you away from your fans. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate it. Have a great week.
All right, bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Oh, yeah, time to talk computers and the internet and home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones. We've got your smart watches. We've got all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you want to call in, ask a question, make a comment or a suggestion, 888-827-5536. Love the tips. Our last caller had a great tip on using a standard remote control with your Apple TV. Things like that are golden. 8888 Ask Leo. We put all of this, including your tips, up on our website, thanks to James DeRugo, who's writing this all down right now. That's techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. And that's free. There's no sign up. All the information's there. All 1,840 shows. Yes, this is episode 1840. Marshall is on the line next. Des Moines, Iowa. Hello, Marshall.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. I have a question about when you log into public internet Wi-Fi, a splash screen pops up, some ask that you agree to their user agree. And then I commonly wipe my browser history just to clear cookies. But then I went back and it just, that splash screen didn't pop up at this.
It remembered you.
The best.
It remembered you.
And
yeah.
I was like, and Steve Gibson and you were talking one day, and he mentioned he stays away from those splash screens. He doesn't agree to them, as I got the impression. So I'm wondering, is there something more going on than just a cookie when you agree to those splash screens?
That's I love that. I, like you, would assume that what's happening is you go to Target, it's called a captive portal. And it's, by the way, it's kind of a hack. It's not really part of the Wi-Fi standard. It's kind of a hack. But the captive portal pops up, makes you agree to something, you say yes, and now you can use it again. And you go back the next time you've made that agreement, you're on the Wi-Fi, you don't have to do it again. And I would assume, like you did, that they must be saving a cookie. That's what cookies are for, by the way. Cookies, which technically are persistent client-side state information. So I think they should have named it Pixies, but that's just my opinion. Cookies are just a save. When you're using a computer program and you save it, that's all a cookie is. It's saving your current state, and it saves it on your drive for privacy purposes. It doesn't want to save it on their server. They don't want to bother with that, so they save it on your drive. Your browser saves it and says, "Oh yeah." This is what happens, by the way, when you log into Facebook or Twitter, right? You don't have to log in every time, because what happens is when you do that first login, Facebook saves what we call a token, which is a long number that represents you that says, yes, you've logged in, and that identifies you. That token, of course, means you don't have to log in again for the next 2 or 3 months or whatever. It expires after a while. So, yeah, a cookie would be a logical thing, but I think you've found another way of memorializing that you've been there. And this is the most important thing to realize. We often talk about cookies as being evil. Now, when you go to any website, thanks to thanks to the EU, you'll get a pop-up says, we use cookies. Is that okay? And you say, okay. And it's so annoying. Does nothing to protect your privacy. And this is the thing to remember, is that cookies aren't the only way a site can identify you. And if you've listened to Security Now, our Steve Gibson's show, which you have obviously, you've heard him talk about fingerprinting. There's all sorts of ways browsers can fingerprint you and figure out who you are. That's why blocking cookies, this cookie pop-up, all of this is theater. It doesn't prevent companies from keeping track of you and spying on you.
I do use ExpressVPN.
Good man.
That's where I was like, does that kind of make a hurdle for this chain store that I'm jumping on there?
Yeah, no, not really, because here's what's happening. So it needs some way, obviously, of identifying you. There are other ways to identify you. And I would guess, and this I know some captive portals do, that the most common way to do this is what's called your MAC address. Every network device in the world has a MAC address. This uniquely identifies you. It's like your phone number. There's one and only one MAC address. So per network device, it stands, what does MAC stand for? Media, this is a terrible acronym, Media Access Control Address. What does that mean? I don't know. But every network device has a unique MAC address. The first part of the address identifies the manufacturer. The last part is a serial number. Each device is supposed to be different. So anytime you join a network, that network can see your MAC address. So I'm guessing that the convenience store says, okay, let's add that MAC address to our list. And Bob's your uncle. Every time you come back, it says, oh, he's there again.
Because the only way I could get rid of that is by resetting I was on an iPhone, reset the network stuff, and then it forgot who I was.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing the iPhone does. For privacy, it rotates MAC addresses. So it turns out the MAC address is not written in stone. You can spoof a MAC address. This is why it's a terrible security solution. Sometimes people say, well, you have to give us your MAC address and then you can join our network. Apple actually has randomized MAC addresses that it sends out. So it's possible that when you, it's interesting, you reset what do you reset so that it doesn't remember you?
Well, this was like a year ago when I did all this. I've since, I'm on 15, so it's randomizing. But I reset the network. What's that in settings where you forget all your...
Yeah, you forget the Wi-Fi. Yeah, you'd still need to log in. It may simply be that because, you went through the captive portal, it gave you... It kind of memorialized that Wi-Fi and said, yes, he's got the password, he's cool. And it auto-joins. Okay. So it may simply be that. In fact, you could test that. There's a little switch setting in your device under each Wi-Fi access point. And it's got a list of all the ones you've memorialized. If you turn off auto-rejoin and then go to that convenience store and see if it goes through the whole captive portal. If it does, then you've figured it out. That's the system.
Okay.
So there's in other words,
a VPN block.
A VPN only hides your IP address, but because your hardware still has to connect with the convenience store, it still sees your MAC address and all of that.
Okay.
So this is really a larger problem. This is why cookies are not the problem. Fingerprinting there's all kinds of ways to do that. They can even do things like query your browser. What's the screen resolution? What's your browser name? What extensions you have plugged in? And there are 10, 15, 20 different points that they can query the browser about. And there's enough of them so that you probably have a unique set, enough that they can identify you uniquely. So it's very hard to be anonymous on the net, I guess is the bottom line.
All right. Well, that was my question.
It's a great question.
Kind of say he avoided that.
I don't know if Steve avoids captive portals. He probably really what he's saying is I don't like to use other people's Wi-Fi ever. Right? Okay. That would be more typical of Steve Gibson. He is a security guy after all. The captive portal is kind of hacky and is less secure. It's not a desirable way to do it, but you understand that when I go to my my doctor's office, he wants to make sure I'm not going to misuse his Wi-Fi, so he has an agreement that pops up.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Great. I'm so glad you called, Marshall. That's a really deep question. There's a lot to that. Apple does some interesting things with captive portals. They understand the potential risks of captive portals, so they actually throw you to a page and through Apple's website. They do all sorts of clever stuff to try to protect you. And that rotating of MAC addresses, I think that's very clever on Apple's part. They work really hard to protect your privacy. And good on them. Good on them for doing that. Whether they succeed, that's a question for another day. It's a devilishly hard thing to do, and there's a lot of incentive for companies to invade your privacy, to track you, to figure out what you're doing so they can advertise to you. So I think they get around a lot of the tricks that Apple and others use to protect their privacy. Hey, before we go on with the show, let me talk about a sponsor that I'm really proud to have on the network. This is a company doing God's work, if you ask me. Userway.org. Userway takes any website and makes it ADA compliant. It makes it accessible. You know, your browser, any browser, doesn't matter what browser you use, has the layer that you and I see, the front page. But inside there's another layer called the accessibility layer. This is super important. All the companies support it. The World Wide Web Consortium supports it. The idea is to make the web accessible to people using screen readers and other tools, people with disabilities who cannot normally use that front page. They've got the accessibility layer. What's in there? Well, things like improved navigation that's easier to use, screen reader information like alt tags for images. So instead of just a big blank blob on the page, they see a description of the image. They can hear it. It's really important, but I got to also point out it's also a legal requirement. The American for Disabilities Act requires that public entities, public sites like your website, have to be accessible. So this is the challenge everybody who has a website faces. How do we make it accessible? Is it a lot of work? Yes, it could be. Or you could go to userway.org. Userway is an incredible AI-powered solution that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of Web Consortium accessibility guidelines, WCAG guidelines. And it does it very simply, one line of JavaScript. Of course, it pulls in other parts of JavaScript that go in and they go through it. And it can do more than an entire team of developers. And it can do it fast and it can do it automatically. Userway's AI and machine learning capabilities are used by some of the biggest websites in the world, more than 1 million websites, including Coca-Cola. Disney trusts Userway, eBay, FedEx, so many brands, I can't even list them all. And now these enterprise-grade, best-in-class accessibility tools are available to everybody, small and medium business size alike. So, and the nice thing is when you scale, you know Userway is going to scale with you. If Disney can use it, you can use it too. The nice thing about Userway is it's very simple, very easy for you to use, but it makes your site accessible to the 60 million Americans with disabilities. Suddenly, they can use your site too. So it's not only the law, it's the right thing to do. It just makes good business sense. The Achilles heel for websites, registration forms, and I know this when I talk to my blind friends, they tell me nav menus, shopping carts, they're not accessible. Wouldn't you like them to be accessible to everyone? And Userway costs a lot less. When I was faced with this, I thought, oh, this is going to be so expensive. We're going to get engineers in here to do this. It's very affordable. We're going to make it even more affordable in a second. Userway's AI will generate image alts, write image descriptions for you, remediate complex nav menus, ensure that all your pop-ups are accessible. It'll fix vague link violations, fixes broken links. That's great just in general. And ensures that your website makes use of accessible colors while remaining true to your brand. And of course, you get a detailed report of all the violations fixed on your website, and it's completely customizable. So you can enhance it after the fact, but at least it's going to get you to that base level. It's going to get you there. Whether you're using WordPress, Shopify, Wix, Userway is cost-effective. It's easy to add. Same goes for AEM, Sitecore, SharePoint. Any site, even a site that you hand-coded, Userway can integrate seamlessly and make it right. Let Userway help your business meet its compliance goals and improve the experience for your users. If you go to the Userway website, they've even got a free scanning tool there to see if your site is WCAG or ADA compliant. Just, you know what? I thought it'd be good to go on in and ask the voice of Siri what she thinks about UserWay.
UserWay is trusted by more than 1 million websites and 60 million users with disabilities. Visit userway.org to learn how one line of code can make your website accessible.
Yeah, Susan, it's great. And, she shares my goal to really make every website in the world accessible. Any website, fully accessible, ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's a great way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's the right thing to do, and it might keep you out of court, too. Userway.org/twit. If you go there right now, you'll get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. Don't be intimidated. It is not hard to do. It is not expensive at all. And it really is worth doing. Userway.org/twit. UserWay makes the internet accessible for everyone. Userway.org/twit. We thank him so much for supporting the Tech Guy podcast. Back to the show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Great choice. Scott on the line from Arlington, Texas. Hello, Scott.
Hey there, Leo. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Doing good. I recently got me a 13 Pro Max, and one of the big ideas for it is to take up some photography.
Good.
But I don't know much about it, and want to know if you got any sources of material on how to use it. Basically iPhone photography is a general deal, and more specifically, what would come with the 13, because it is so much more advanced.
The good news is, and the 13 is really amazing, and there's all sorts of things that are new, things like macro photography that you might want to study. I would say your best bet probably is YouTube, and just search for iPhone photography. You're going to want to. There's probably a million videos there. For iPhone photography, you're going to want to see if you can find somebody you like their style, you like their attitude, and you like their instructional capabilities, because you're going to have a big choice there. There are people who specialize in iPhone photography. I don't have anybody in particular that I recommend. We do a show called Hands-On Photography on our podcast network, twit.tv/HOP. I really like Ant Pruitt, our host. He's kind of like the Bob Ross of photography. If you like the Bob Ross style, that gentle, slow, kind of comfortable style, he's great at that. And he has lots of tips in general photography, and he also talks about camera phone photography. He's not an iPhone user, so it's not iPhone specific, but he definitely has some great tips. I think you're going to find a lot of stuff online. Our regular, who's not going to be here in the next 10 minutes, normally Chris Marquardt would join us. He is an iPhone photographer, and certainly should check out Chris's stuff. He has a podcast, Tips from the Top Floor, tfttf.com, that you can listen to. Do you like to read? Do you like to listen? Do you like to watch? Everybody has a different learning style.
Mine is actual hands-on.
Hands-on.
And I listen. Listening is the most important thing for my learning style. But
you should also check out. In fact, the chat room's giving me a playlist from Apple. Apple posts quite a bit of stuff on their YouTube channel on iPhone 13 photography. So you should certainly check that as well. I'm with you. I want to get hands-on, and that's another recommendation. And it's kind of slowed down during COVID, but it's going to be coming back, which is photo walks. A lot of photographers go on photo walks. If you ever get a chance to do that with Chris or any really good photographer, and you could Google iPhone photo walks and maybe find one near you. It's really fun to go out, and I've done this many, many times, with somebody who knows what they're doing. Usually you're in a group of 8, 10, 12 people. And you'll all stop and look at something, and you'll all compare notes. The leader will talk a little bit about things to consider as you're taking the image. It's a great way to learn. I've had them come over and say, let me look at your settings. All right, let's set this up. So if you're hands-on, that's a great way. It's not quite a class. It's more of a kind of collaborative thing, but photo walks are so much fun. I don't know who
I haven't heard of. So.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. You might have to go into Dallas to find one, but I think there almost certainly there'll be people doing those in your area. And like I said, it kind of tapered off during COVID. It may not be fully back yet, but it's sometime soon. That's one of the things I miss the most. You know, we're doing an Alaska cruise in July. And one of the, for our podcast and radio listeners, one of the things my wife is very anxious to do is do some photo walks. So we're going to see, go out and to see salmon runs and bald eagles and glaciers and stuff. And I think it'll be really fun for us to go out with our cameras and do some photo walks. And so that's something we've done before, and many of the photographers I know and worked with have done. And I think it's a great way to learn.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I got one other completely unrelated question.
Sure.
I'm a fairly new Mac user. I've had it about a year, and COVID has really cramped my ability to dig into it and everything because it's really increased my workload tremendously. So I haven't had time to just sit down and use the computer very much. But the other thing that's impacting this is I'm reaching that age where I've got to start worrying more actively about passing on all our financial information to my wife if something should happen.
Yep.
And
I know that feeling. Yep.
She is not very computer savvy.
My wife says, you can't die. Who's going to turn on the TV? I don't know how to use all these remotes you got here.
I get that too. So.
It's the geek's lament, or the geek spouse's lament, I should say.
Yeah. And, other than just handwriting a procedural method myself, is there anything I can get that would have, good access for her to use?
Is she can use a computer at all?
She is. She's very.
The most important.
She's fairly limited, but she's all PC and not Mac at all.
The most important thing to do, of course, is to give her access to your accounts, your bank accounts, your financial accounts. Either her or your executor or your lawyer will need to do that to wrap up your financial matters, financial affairs. And so I think people who use password managers, most password managers have something they call emergency access, where you can designate a survivor who gets emergency access to your password vault. So I've done that with my wife, and actually I have a secondary person, my daughter, so that family members will have access to that, especially if you go suddenly, because that's so. I think that there are also templates you should look. In case of my death, a document that you could create. If it's easier for her, it's on paper, not on a computer, that would include those passwords, information that they need to know, places you've stored photographs, that kind of thing. So people have created websites like that. There's one called deadmanswitch.net. You could use, if she's highly technical. Certainly an interesting idea, something we all have to deal with. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, deadmanswitch.net is kind of interesting. The idea is to trigger some emails that are sent after you pass, so that you can say, but again, it requires somebody knows email and so forth. So it really depends on, it may be for her, if she's not super technical, having a printed document that you put somewhere safe, like in a safe or a safe deposit box, give to a lawyer. That can have all of that. Or, you know what? You got that nice iPhone 13? Make a video. Honey, I'm sorry I'm not here. Dry your eyes. Here's all the information you need to know. Yeah, it's a really, as we all, kind of face this, it's a really interesting question. You got to do something about it. And I think a lot of people just put it off. And then, you get hit by a bus and suddenly, your family wishes you hadn't.
Now, one question that I think I already know the answer to, but if I make her an account on my Mac, it won't necessarily have access to.
No,
won't have my access to my.
She will not get to your stuff. So that's why I think the good way to do this is to create a document she doesn't have access to now that has the login to your computers, the passwords for your bank accounts and your various financial accounts. You know what I'm saying? You may not want her to have that now, but put it somewhere that she can access in case of your death. And I think I think that's a must. And I think having the password manager is a really great way to do that if you don't already use one.
There's something in my mental makeup that make password managers just, it's easier for me to build my own.
Sure. I understand that. Yeah. But that is one advantage of password managers. I know LastPass, 1Password, our sponsor Bitwarden, all give you emergency access in case of your death so that you can designate somebody. And usually the way it works is your wife, you passed, your wife, you knows about this. You still need to leave a document saying, okay, now this is what you need to do to get access. She requests access. They send you an email saying your wife has requested access to your accounts. Is it okay to give her permission? And then you set a time limit. You say, if I don't respond to that email in a week, a month, a year, whatever you said, then yes, go ahead and give her access. So it's kind of another kind of dead man switch. Same idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I really appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, thank you. I appreciate you bringing it up and thinking about it because a lot of people, though, I don't want to think about that. But it's really important.
She mentioned it to me a month or so ago. And
yeah.
It's been hard to get to ask you the question. So.
Yeah, I'm so glad you called. I appreciate it. Hands Scott.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and I should mention, I mentioned Aunt Pruitt, our wonderful host of our Hands-On Photography show. He actually is doing a photo walk in New Orleans. So if you want to know more about that, antpruitt.com. He's teaching at the Wanderers Photography Workshop. If you get really serious at some point, a workshop is a great thing to do. I've done a number of these, and you hang out with other photographers. I'm looking forward to. We're going to Mexico in a week. I'm really looking forward to the idea of. I'm sure that the people will be with us. There's 4 other couples. I'm sure there'll be more than a few photographers in that bunch. Lisa and I are avid photographers, so that'll be kind of like a week-long photo excursion, week-long photo walk, because it's going to be very photogenic. I think should be a lot of fun. Yeah, Ant's doing street photography and cityscapes. So there's some. It's fun to go somewhere like New Orleans or Oaxaca and go as a photographer and as an observer. You know, that's really fun. Get some great shots. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. I'd love to hear from you if you've got a question, a comment, suggestion. Got a couple of lines open. So that's nice. 8888 Ask Leo. Bill from Idaho Falls is next. Hello, Bill.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm great. Welcome.
Hey, I've got a question for you. I purchased one of your the EcoTanks Epsons.
They're not mine. They're Epsons, but okay, yeah.
So they have it, but you recommend them.
Yes.
And how do you get this thing to print more than 1 page an hour?
Is it really slow?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like I picked up the one that was more pixels or dots per inch.
Yeah.
And it's like it's printing photo quality on everything.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that. That's why it's taken so long. I should mention Epson is no longer sponsored. They haven't been for about a year, but they did buy ads for a long time, and I use Epson's EcoTank printers and certainly recommended them for a long time. But you should really call Shaquille O'Neal because he's the expert now. No, just kidding. Yeah, you can change the print settings, and I think that's probably what you need to do. So are you on a PC, a Windows computer?
No, I'm not. I'm on a Mac.
Okay, same, easy peasy. So when you print, what we call dialogue, a window pops up with a few questions in it. But you'll also notice in that print dialogue that you can go to print setup. It's also under the file menu. There's a print setup. That's where you go to get the more elaborate details. So when you're looking at the printer dialogue, don't just say print. Go and look at some of the settings. And yes, I think you probably have it set to be photo printing, which is definitely not what you want to do unless you're actually printing a photo. So you'll look in the print setup, and there may be it depends on the program you're using, but there will be something like, and I'm looking at this is in my browser, print using the system dialog. When you click that, you're going to get the system dialog, which has a lot more choices in it, including presets, and you can show all the presets. You don't definitely, once you get into the presets, you're going to see a lot of choices, including quality choices. So you definitely don't need to print in photo quality every time. You certainly will have a faster way to print. They may even, in some printers, it says print faster. They actually say print faster, but lower quality. And that's, you nailed it when you said it's too high a resolution. The default is set too high. Now, the good news is on most printers, when you change what your settings are, that will be the new default. In fact, you'll even see a setting that says print using the last settings. So you can have it, you can change it to be faster printing, lower quality, and leave it that way, and it will print that way from now on.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just in the print settings.
I have to look into there.
Yeah, it's a little digging. You're going to do a little digging around. It's not going to be immediately obvious. But on mine, it says presets. And when you get to the presets, that's where you see you can change, is it black and white? Is it color? What dot resolution? All kinds of stuff. And yeah, you just want to do it a little lower resolution. It's trying to make a photograph out of everything you print. Obviously, that's not ideal. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. We'll put a link to the Scooter X's found a page on Epson's support site talking about printing in the Mac and the basic printing settings. And you can look at that, refer to that, and choose their basic printing settings. I wonder why it came out of the box. It might be it was a photo printer. Epson makes some photo printers. They make very good photo printers, and maybe it's set to, it thinks you want to print a high-quality photo. Printing should be seconds per page, not minutes or hours. It should be seconds. If you're tuning in to hear Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, he's got the week off. He'll be back next week. I think we're getting close to a photo review of our assignment. So if you want to participate, again, it's not a competition. It is just kind of an excuse to get you out there taking pictures. Excuse to yourself. Trick yourself. The idea is you're going to take a picture illustrating the word, the concept, the idea, in this case, happy. I think that's I'll have to look. Let me go to the group and see. And if you find a picture that really says that to you, you can tag it, upload it to Flickr, and then tag it with the word TG Happy, and upload it to, and on Flickr we have a tech guy group, big group too, 13,872 members, 7,334 photos. Upload it to the group. Our moderator, Renee Silverman, will say, oh, thank you, got it. Put it in the happy assignment pool, and Chris should be reviewing those. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. I think it might be next week, so get out there and take some happy pictures. What does happy mean to you? Paul in Columbus, Ohio. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo.
Hey, Paul.
I hope you have a great trip next week.
I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm going to take I'm going to bring Lisa has an iPhone 13. She's going to bring hers. I'm going to bring my new Pixel 6 Pro, and we're going to do a shootout, see which camera phone is the best. Should be fun.
Also like fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this relates to travel, too, because my wife and I like to take cruises, haven't for a while, as you know why.
Yeah. I've had 2 cruises canceled out from under me so far.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing here. But we did reschedule one for next summer in June to starts off in Denmark, and then that whole area, Sweden.
The Baltic cruise. That's so much fun. Cruise. Yeah, I love those.
One of the stops is in St. Petersburg.
Yes.
And my concern is, and if we do this, or it looks like we're going to do it, we'll get the new phone too, because it seems like such a good camera. What would be the best way to keep those phones safe, even if we're just taking pictures? and not trying to connect to a local network.
Safe in terms of not getting them stolen, or safe in terms of not getting them hacked?
Not getting hacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can physically put them in the safe on the ship, but if you want to
take them ashore,
take pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been to St. Petersburg twice on cruises. Never had any issues at all, but that's been it's been a couple of years. As long as you don't join Wi-Fi, you're not visible to local hackers. And I understand your concern. There certainly seem to be a lot of hackers coming out of Russia these days. Now, if you're concerned about the Russian government, the FSB or some three-letter agency, that might be a different matter. And it's true in the U.S. too. If you're a person of interest to intelligence agencies, then I think probably any phone you bring is going to be at risk.
I think I'd probably be one of the least interesting.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry. The fancy bear doesn't care about you. But yeah, because in Russia the telcos, it's this, if you don't join a Wi-Fi, you'll be using the cellular system there. And those are, I have pretty strong suspicion, compromised by the Russian intelligence agencies. They probably could attempt to spy on what you're doing. If you're really worried about that, turn off cellular. You'll still be able to use them as cameras. Everything else will function except anything that needs the internet. Turn off cellular, and then you're certainly safe unless they grab your phone and put it in a machine. So there's two ways in. One's Wi-Fi. That's probably riskier than the cell company. And the cell company, just like here in the United States, if the CIA or the FBI wanted to know about you, there are ways they can, get through the cell company to you. I'm sure that's true in Russia as well. But if you're not a fascinating person.
Pretty boring.
I think you're safe. I never had any problem. The only thing that scared me in Russia is they give you a little red card when you get off the boat. They say, don't lose this, because you can't get back on the boat without it. They're very, they really want to keep track of all the tourists. But you'll be on, tours, that are sanctioned by the Russian government. You'll be safe. And I think you have a great time. Make sure you go to the Hermitage, the most amazing museum. Just incredible. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, I'm jealous. That's going to be wonderful. So you start in Copenhagen?
Yeah.
And then if St. Petersburg's amazing. What cruise line are you going on?
It's Holland America.
Oh yeah, I've done a Baltic cruise with them. It's wonderful. Yeah.
And if that gets canceled for some reason, and I'm crossing my fingers, I can talk my wife into joining you in Alaska.
Oh, we'd love that. Cruise.twit.tv. I think you're going to have more fun in the Baltic, but Alaska's fun too.
Know. We love Alaska. We've been up there 4 or 5 times.
It's really pretty. Yeah.
I've missed you when I've been out getting a different guide dog in San Rafael a couple of times.
So
worst case, I'll have to try to catch you on a cruise.
Yeah. My daughter lives in San Rafael, so I go down and have lunch with her every week. And it was raining last Thursday when I went down, and because there's Guide Dogs for the Blind is there, and of course they want to get the dog some experience in the rain, so they were all over the place, and some of the trainers, of course, wearing blindfolds, and usually with a companion, and they're walking really fast in the rain. They're trying, they're really testing the dogs out. It's really neat what they do. So that's where you get your dog.
Yep, I've got my third dog. I just got her 2 years ago.
Oh, have we met, Paul? That sounds familiar. Have we met? Have you been out here?
No, I've been out a couple of times and never made it up to the studio.
We've had several people do that, where they get their dog and they come in and visit, and it's so much fun. It's just really great. Well, next time.
Yep, I hope so.
Yeah, and if not, Alaska. But I think you're going to love the Baltic. It's just.
I'm sure. My wife's family's from Sweden, and we're from Sweden and Finland, and every place up there except Norway, and we were in Norway a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't know why they never stop in Norway. Sweden. You might get Lithuania or the Estonia.
Estonia, I think.
Yeah, Tallinn. Tallinn's a beautiful town. You're going to enjoy it. Old medieval town. They're very tech savvy. It's very interesting. Estonia really decided they wanted to be a digital, focus after the Soviet Union broke up, and they've really done a good job, I think. It's fun country. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, you're going to have a blast. Oh, have a great time. Yeah. We had a January cruise, which is canceled, and we're doing the Alaska thing, and then we're going to, we booked for 2023, I think.
We've got our current booster shot, so we're all ready with that. I guess that's going to be an annual occurrence, it sounds like, though.
Yeah, the booster shot will be great. I would be very happy about that. What's going on there? Kim is going out we're going out the door.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we got to put sandbags? Oh, my goodness. We're getting a little flooding. I guess we're going to have to put up some sandbags. Paul, have a great trip. It's good to talk to you. Come and visit us after the rain stops.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. Holy moly. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I will not be here Halloween, so don't expect a costume. Sorry, not going to do it. Not going to wear a costume. I'm going to be in Mexico. We have two wonderful, what do we call them? They're not reruns exactly. Best ofs planned for you, thanks to Professor Laura's putting them together. She hates me. I go on vacation. She's got to work twice as hard. Sorry, Laura. Thank you. I owe you one. 8888 Ask Leo. I will be back, though, November, 6th? Brand new shows from then on. And that's, I think, when Chris Marker will come back. He's not going to be here next week. He'll be here in 2 weeks. Ted from Temecula, California is next. Hi, Ted. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. I have a question about music. I have a large CD collection that I've always popped them into my iMac and import them into iTunes and then over to my iPad. And over the years, I've also bought a number of music DVDs, old 70s Electric Light Orchestra, Doobie Brothers, etc. concerts, and I've always been able to use Handbrake to put them on my iMac and then onto my iPad. So I can sit at night and watch my... So I just got one recently. It was a history of the Eagles, and it had a second CD in there that was one of their old concerts from the 70s.
Oh,
it was very well done. So I tried to use Handbrake, and the audio came out all scratchy. And so I'm on their website, and it says Handbrake does not defeat or circumvent copy protection.
Right.
Is that something they've added so that I can't get this onto my iMac and then into my iPad now?
Is it an audio-only CD?
No, it's a CD of it's a DVD concert. DVD.
Oh, yeah. So you've been able to do this in the past, which is surprising because they're always copy protected. And Handbrake, which is, open source, nonprofit, French schoolboys make it, decided at one point, we don't want to get in this battle with the Recording Industry Association of America and the Motion Picture Association of America. They're very aggressive about suing companies that bypass DVD copy protection. So
I probably used it about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago was the last time.
Okay.
And it worked, and
they
now
took it
I
out.
can't get it to work.
They took it out. But if you look in the abouts or the how-tos or the help section, they'll explain you can still get around it. You just need another program that will open the DVD and play it, because the way the copy protection works is when it opens it up, it has to get a key from the DVD to unencrypt it. And now that key's in RAM. And once it's in RAM, Handbrake says, good, I got this, and can take over. So they recommend VLC, which is also from French schoolboys. And so the process is you play it in VLC, leave VLC open. It's in RAM now. You should be able to decrypt it with Handbrake. But as I said, this should be described in the help files.
Okay, so after I did use VLC before, I remember, but now all of this works with my Apple TV app on my iMac, so I don't need VLC to play any of these old concert videos that I have. I don't ever use VLC. I used it initially with Handbrake.
I know, this is...
but now it works. Now they all work fine with Apple's TV app.
Yeah, the world is changing. I mean, basically everything's going to be streaming. The problem is these are obscure... probably will never show up on Netflix or Apple or any of the streaming services because they're specialized. They're for real fans. So it's I think a really good idea to make a copy of it. You bought it. You're not pirating it. This is a digital copy for your convenience. No court in the land is going to ding you for that.
No, I don't think so. It is for my own use.
Yeah.
And you know what? I support these people. I buy their music, and I'm not sharing with anybody. If they like it, they can buy it.
Yeah, you're supporting them by buying it. Yes.
They need the income. They deserve the income from their product.
Which again triggers my standard speech that no one ever listens to in the Motion Picture Association of America. Copy protection does not slow down piracy because pirates circumvent. They know how to circumvent. It only annoys your paying customers.
Right.
You're treating them like criminals, and they're not the criminals. So stop it. Knock it off.
So
there are other ways to do this. There's a library that you can install that called it's DCSS, which is removing the CSS copy protection. I'll put a link to MacXDVD.com so you can see that as well. It's another way to do it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very, very
You're very welcome. It's I don't want to get on a soapbox, but you know me. It bugs me because pirates know how to do all this stuff, right? You've never slowed down piracy, ever. By any copy protection. All you've done ever is annoy your customers. It doesn't seem like a good strategy. I'm just saying. Is that really? That's what copy protection does, and it's why you're seeing, in some instances, music, for instance, they completely dropped copy protection. I think some gaming, which used to be very highly copy protected, they finally realized, it's not slowing anybody down. It's not stopping piracy. It's just annoying our paying customers. Is that what you want to do? Karen's on the line from Los Angeles. Hello, Karen.
Hi. Oh, I got through it for weeks, and as soon as you said you have lines open, I jumped on it.
Yay! Good timing. Let those people watch football. We don't care.
Yeah. Listen, in February, I bought a LG Stylus 6 phone because I need the stylus.
Yes.
And 2 months after that, LG announced they aren't making...
They got out of the business.
I paid full price for it. I paid for it from T-Mobile. Thank you. And it only has Android 10. And I want to update it to 11 or 12. And I want to know how. I went to your site, but there is, I put that in, but I didn't get anything.
Yeah, it's a very specific question.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you'll find the general stuff that people ask all the time, but that one is very specific. Yeah. So you have an LG Stylo 6. Is that the one you have?
Yeah, and it's Android 10.
Yeah, LG, by the way, has not abandoned you. They are still pushing out, I think, security updates.
Well, I had one, I think, back in the latest one was...
You should get a monthly. So let me see. They have a list which they've posted of which phones that they're going to put Android 11 on.
I don't think mine was...
The Stylo is not.
Yeah. I need a phone with a stylus because I'm old and I have shaky hands.
Oh, I love a stylus. Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that.
And it was, a medium price.
So you could get really geeky if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. You can root that phone and get the...
it's unlocked. Is that...
That's good. That's a good start.
Okay.
But rooting is the next step where you actually unlock the bootloader and install different firmware on it. And so it is possible, in fact, to put more recent firmware on it. Not from LG, though. From other usually...
I don't want LG anymore.
I'm done with them, those dummies.
Right.
Well, but I'm not sure I would give that up because, you want to use your stylus. These third-party ones may not work as well and so forth. It's a geeky thing to do, but I suspect you might be able to get it updated. In fact, I'm looking at a page that says perhaps you can update it to 12. The problem is it's not going to, I don't think it's from LG. I don't think they're doing it. So it's a third party, but I'll put a link in the show notes to a story from Firmwares Pro that shows you how to do it, or you can go to xda-developers.com and look it up. It's going to be tricky. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yes, it's time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography, smartphones and smartwatches and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. 888-827 5536, toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us, but it's, using Skype or something. It'll call over the internet to a regular phone. 8888 Ask Leo. Website where everything goes as we mention it so that you don't have to remember it is techguylabs.com. Techguylabs.com. Head into hour 3. Thomas, I want to thank you, Thomas Buckhout, who sends me every year his great photographers' calendars. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. He just sent me his, I have got the calendar for 2021. Wait a minute. That's 2021. This is 2022. There you go. I've got 2 years of calendars. You know what? Both are 2022, but just to point out that I didn't notice that. It says 2021 on the front. But beautiful Albuquerque Balloon Festival. Those balloons are amazing. And Sand Dune White Sand National Park. Some nice images. Thank you very much, R5 Shooter, in our chat room for sending those out. Back to the phones we go. Karen. Oh, we talked to you, Karen. It's Alan in North Hollywood, California. Hi, Alan.
Hello, Leo.
Hello. Welcome. What can I do for you?
Well, I figured out a term for it. I was blessed by an update.
The French word for wound is blessure. So you are blessed. You were wounded by this update.
There you go.
Yep. What happened?
It seems purposeful. I have Windows 10.
Yeah.
How can I explain this? This was a problem. I couldn't look it up. When on File Explorer, when I go to do a copy, it's just a text file that I constantly update.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple thing.
You like to copy it so that you have a copy of the old version, then you work on the new version.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is that I just have a flash drive on the side of the machine and make a copy. But when I do that, it used to say there's a duplicate on a duplicate file has been found on the flash drive, which you expect.
Yes.
And then it would give you a choice of what you want to do with it, the size of it and all that. And so, I would just pick right over it and that's it because I already have the updated copy. But the problem is that it said either do that or if you just unconditionally copy it, it adds a number to it. So it's the same file, number 2, 3, 4, I
understand.
The copy that way. And the problem is that since the update, that choice has been eliminated from File Explorer, and now it just makes a numerical copy. So then I have to go in and get rid of the earlier copy and do all that. But it's much harder to do, and there's no way to change. In other words, the actual behavior of File Explorer has been changed, and I don't know how to look up how do you bring that back? What do you even call it?
So does it prevent you from making a copy, or does it? So you're saying it's overwriting it instead of numbering it?
No, it numbers it instead of overwriting.
Oh, I see. You want it to overwrite it, not number it. Well, it's doing that to protect you. It's making a version.
Right, it's making a version, but the problem is I used to be able to control it, which is nice, and they just simply eliminated the choice so that you can't do that. And, how do you... what you want to do is force overwrite instead of create versioning. You wanted to force it to overwrite. And I'm normally it used to pop up this window, which, as you mentioned, that would say, do you want to overwrite it? I gather it no longer
does that.
No,
it just does it. So there is a way on the command line to do it, but you're not using the command line, obviously. You're just dragging and dropping. If you copy on the command line, there's a switch that says just overwrite it. Don't ask me about it. Don't number it. Just overwrite it. I don't know if there's a way to do that. That's a really interesting question in the graphic interface, the GUI.
The behavior was just changed, and they're
that happens sometimes with these updates. You got blessed, didn't you?
And after the update, it was gone.
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
let me think about that. Let me think on anybody in the chat room have an idea how you could. Maybe if you right-click, sometimes you get a pop-up menu with a right-click that will say overwrite or make a copy. You know, the problem I'm having is usually what I would do in this case, if I didn't like that's the default behavior, is I just write a little batch file. It forces it to do it the way I want it. So Joe in the chat room is saying, try right-clicking and dragging. When you right-click and drag, then you'll get a pop-up that will give you some options, what it should do. And one of the options should be overwrite. And that's the behavior you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. It used to be the default behavior.
Yes, they changed that.
It isn't. And you can. And I didn't know how to look it up. You know.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. How do you express that? I understand.
To describe it to you, that's a little bit long for a search term.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know what the secret word is, which in this case is overwrite. You understand why they did that. They're opting to do it more safely. Because inevitably what happened is somebody overwrote their data and said, hey, I wanted that. No. And so they decided, well, rather than do that, our default behavior should just be to give you another one and number it. So right-click and drag, of course. I should have thought of that. Thank you, Joe, for remembering how to use Windows. I haven't used it lately. Super secret overwrite command. Alan, I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. I haven't tried it, but I'm
pretty sure now that he mentions it. Yeah, I used to have a Windows machine right here, and I don't have one in front of me. I have to get another one. I will soon. That I can try these things out on, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Right-click and drag. That way, actually, that's always a good tip. Anytime Windows is behaving in ways you don't understand or don't like, the really good tip is to say, just try right-clicking. That pops up a contextual menu, a context-sensitive menu, a menu that understands what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and gives you options. You can do it statically, just a file sitting there, right-click on it, you'll see some options. But you can also, and I think people forget you can do this, while you're dragging a file, or I guess you have to right-click, then drag. No, it's kind of tricky. You put your mouse pointer over the thing, and you right-click and drag. Yeah, you have to do it kind of at the same time. But if you do that, Windows will give you a new context menu saying, in effect, I see you're dragging this file. What would you like me to do with it? And you can duplicate it. You can overwrite it, and that kind of thing. And eBiker in the chat room saying, yep, the latest Windows 10 eliminated this feature as well when you copy and paste files. And I think they're just, they're erring on the side of protecting your data, which I understand. But if you've, as always, if you're really used to how it used to do it, and suddenly it doesn't do it that way, that can be confusing and frustrating. Always try right-clicking. That's the motto. Always be right-clicking. That's how you get Windows to do what you want. This episode of The Tech Guy brought to you by bandwidth. Well, yes, of course, you say. How else would I get it over the internet? Not that bandwidth, not lowercase b, capital B bandwidth. Bandwidth is the world's first net native carrier, telephone carrier. And as such, I mean, you could tell by the name, they've been around since the beginning. They are the place to go. If you're interested in providing telephony, let's say in Microsoft Teams, this is the best way to do it. Provide accurate 911 caller information. You know that's an obligation for Microsoft Teams users. You can maintain compliance with complicated E911 regulations during your migration using Bandwidth's special Teams application. They call it Duet for Teams. Bandwidth provides telephony services to some of the biggest companies in the world, including the one with 2 O's and a G and a G. Actually, Bandwidth was the back end for Grand Central, which became Google Voice. I think they still are. Ring Central uses Bandwidth. You know what? What you find out is everybody uses Bandwidth. But if you're using Microsoft Teams and you've decided to integrate telephony, you got to take a look at Bandwidth's Duet for Microsoft Teams. It'll simplify your move with software-driven SIP, dynamic E911 capabilities, industry-leading expertise. You know, there is a challenge when you do this, when you move to a VoIP telephony service like, you know, telephony with Teams, and that's 911. Ray Baum's Act, federal law, requires enterprises to provide what they call a dispatchable location. That's not just the address. That's the street address plus more granular information, things like the building, the floor, the room number. You can imagine emergency services showing up at a high-rise. Well, that's the address. Where do we go? You need to have more. Of course, you got this problem because you've got employees using soft phones now. They've got Teams on their laptop. They're moving around on the campus in different buildings, remote offices. So it's challenging to provide that accurate location, but it's also a legal responsibility. Enter Duet for Microsoft Teams. Bandwidth leverages its advanced dynamic E911 for Teams solution to identify the location of a Teams-connected user at the time of the emergency call. So they actually are giving emergency services that exact number. By the way, I love it. You can test this, and you don't have to call 911. They've got a 933 number, so you can verify that your location information is compliant without burdening, public safety with live 911 calls. It's little things like that that make Bandwidth stand out. It's really, really good. They natively route your 911 calls across their secure, highly reliable nationwide network and automatically provide the caller's current location so that you're compliant with Ray Baum's Act and you're enhancing employee safety. And that's really the bottom line. Bandwidth is the easiest way to simplify your direct routing migrations. If you're thinking about direct routing, Bandwidth's Duet for Microsoft Teams will give you greater control, greater value. I think it's a great idea to decouple your telephony from Teams because you don't want to be reliant on just one provider. You want to use Bandwidth's reliable cloud-native network. You get the advantages of working directly with a cloud-native carrier. I mean, things like failover control, call forwarding, real-time reroutes, and it's all on the familiar Microsoft Teams platform. Plus, 40% less than Microsoft's calling plans. I just think this is a kind of a no-brainer. And I know you want this. You're going to have a migration partner. I mean, they're not just a provider. They'll give you a dedicated onboarding specialist to help execute the project. There's a 24/7 network operations center, expert support teams. They'll accelerate your migration, be with you every step of the way. Lots of little nice features. You can, for instance, group your users into logical cohorts, department, location, guys with the first name begins with a P, whatever you want, and schedule and trigger ports for those individual groups, but also, if there's any problems, seamlessly roll back. I know this is what you want. And everybody says they have great support, I know, but Bandwidth really does. They're just easier to work with. Zoom, Genesis, Ring Central, they all use Bandwidth. Bandwidth's white glove customer support touts a 9.8 customer satisfaction rating. They are uniquely positioned to help your enterprise migrate with less frustration to meet regulatory expectations. And it's not just Teams, by the way. Bandwidth can help simplify telecom migrations to the cloud with a bring-your-own-carrier solution for Ring Central, too, in addition to Microsoft Teams. Actually, you should check out what Bandwidth has to offer. They are really the go-to guys. Check out Bandwidth's Duet for Teams, Duet for Ring Central. See how you can orchestrate your move to the cloud with flexibility and control. Request your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/twit. It's a capital B, bandwidth, not the lowercase, capital B, bandwidth.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting the Tech Guy Show, believing in our ability to reach out to people like you. I think that's great. And we thank you for supporting us by going to that special address, so they know you saw it here, bandwidth.com/twit. And now, back to the Tech Guy. Woo! It's raining men. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Professor Laura, musical director. Some reason I don't think Big Pee Wee had played that, but Professor Laura did. Yes. And it is raining something. Cats and dogs out there. Whew. 80, it's cozy. I like that. We're inside, so it's okay. 8888 Ask Leo. Jim's on the line from Burbank, California. Our next caller. Hello, Jim.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm a technical guy like you somewhat. I'm a ham radio operator. And,
nice.
And I've always been interested in technical things. Built my own PC 20 years ago.
It's fun, isn't it? Not everybody has the mindset for it, but if you do, it's really a fun hobby, I think.
And it's a hobby where you learn a lot in the process. So,
exactly.
And I work in a technical field, too. I worked in a technical field until COVID ended my job. But story.
I'm sorry.
My question for you is, truly, about 2 years ago, it was time for a new cell phone. I'd been using Samsung Galaxies and Notes for about 10 years prior to that. And at the persuasion of some of my friends who use iPhones, who said, Jim, you need to be open-minded, not so rigid. Try something new. I said, maybe they're right.
And how did that work out for you?
Within 1 week, I was holding that phone in my hand saying, this thing is boring. I can't do anything fun or interesting with it. It's totally boring.
That's an interesting take on it. But that's
the latest top of the line. But now a year and a half later, I'm back on Samsung. I got a Note 21, and I could not be happier. The world is like night and day between the two. I just don't understand why anybody would choose Apple. And then look down their noses at people who don't.
Well, I'm not going to go so far as to say that. It's different strokes for different folks. Here's the deal, I think. Some people want a boring phone, Jim. Remember, you like this stuff, right? You like tinkering with it. You like messing with it. You like configuring it. You like experimenting with it. Not everybody in the world wants that. Some people... In fact, I'm very venture to say the majority of people just want it to do what they want it to do. They just want it to work. They want it to be boring. See, another way of saying boring is predictable, reliable, So I think it's kind of the similar analogy between Windows and Mac. Android is more like Windows, very configurable. You can mess with it. You can do a lot of things. It's yours. You own it. You can root the phone if you want and put somebody else's firmware on it. You can do all sorts of things. But the Mac and the iPhone are similar in the sense that Apple is very opinionated. They say, well, we know the best way to do this, that, and the other thing. We figure the best thing to do is just to be opinionated. Tell folks this is how you're going to do it. And most folks, it's not that they're sheep. It's not that they're sheep.
That's wrong.
You think that's wrong?
That's wrong, man. I think it's wrong because here's why it's wrong. Because they're making your decisions for you.
But a lot of people prefer that. And it's not like a government making its decisions for you. It's not fascism. It's just that I know a lot of people, my wife included, who don't want to mess with their phone. They want it to do the things they want. And it does. And they're happy. The last thing they're interested in is tinkering. But you and I, we're tinkerers. I completely understand your point of view.
Yeah, I like to be able to use my phone and I got a speakerphone in my car, separate speakerphone from the sound system.
Yeah, see?
Music to the sound.
See?
I got a mixer. I can set up the things the way I want to.
Okay, you like that, but don't put down people who don't want to do that, right?
I don't really put them down. I'm just trying to get your conversation.
You're stimulating that's good. That's good.
I'm minded enough to try it for over a year, and it just isn't for me. It really isn't.
And I think there's people who go the other way as well. I try to get my wife to use Android. Every once in a while, I show her stuff, and she goes, "Oh, I'd love to do. That's really cool." And she said, "I should try your phone for a while." And I said, "Well, please do." And then she always goes back to the iPhone. So I think it's.
Yeah, I guess it's what you're used to at some point.
But it's also and I think this is it's really good that you said this because there is. In the world of engineers and those of us who have that gene, I'm going to say it's a gene. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the way our mind works. We understand the underlying behaviors. It clicks for us, and we know how to manipulate it, and we love that power, love that ability to get. That's why I use Linux, not Windows or Mac, because in my opinion, even Windows doesn't give me enough freedom. I want to be able to get under the hood and really mess with it. And so I think there are people like us, and we don't get We don't understand why anybody would not be that way. Why they don't understand. This is so easy. What, you don't get how this works? Isn't it obvious? No. And they don't have that inclination to tinker with it. Maybe they have other things, Joe. Let's say this, Jim. They have other things they like to tinker with. Maybe, now, for instance, I'm just going to guess, but you and I, Jim, we're engineering types, we're mechanical types. Maybe we're not the best with emotions, with feelings. Maybe we're not really good at expressing how we feel about things. We struggle with that a little bit. I'm not going to say that that's the case, but for me it is, and for a lot of us it is, and it's because we have a different kind of intelligence.
Yeah, it's a generalized characterization that is generally true for the most part. There are certain people who are engineering types, and there are other people who are artistic types. And although they seem to be separate, I would say that they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. There are some people who are technically competent and very creative at the same time. Oh. But let me ask you one real quick question before I let you go. Okay.
Sure.
If all the Apple people want is a simple, basic phone, why would you spend over $1,000 for one?
It's not basic. It's not basic. It's just there's one way to do it. I would argue that Apple is technically super sophisticated. What they're doing with processors far exceeds what Qualcomm and Samsung have done with their processors. So it's not that it's basic, it's that it's sealed. It's no user serviceable parts inside. You and I like to get in under the hood. You can't do that with an iPhone. And by the way, absolutely there's artistic engineers. In fact, I've observed most engineers are very good at music. There's something about the math mind and the music mind. There's a similarity. So many musicians make excellent engineers and vice versa. In fact, I bet you know a lot of people in technical fields who are really good musicians.
So my dad is one of them.
Yeah. It's not to say we're not creative. It's just that there's things where everybody's good at something different. And so I don't want to put anybody down who doesn't feel comfortable. In fact, I kind of make my living, to wrap this up, Jim, explaining to normal people how you and I think. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Space next. I love that, Jim. Really good. Really good. Oh, he's gone. Oh, no, you're still there. Really good conversation. I think that's a great topic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a ham radio operator, KI6GU, and I worked in broadcast television as a camera operator, robotic cameras, and all that stuff. So, I'm totally a technical person.
Yeah, exactly. And, I love technical people. W6TWT, by the way. And cool. I think it's absolutely... This is why I've been able to make a living. It was because I have a foot in both camps. And so I'm very technical. I love this stuff. I'll go home and I'll write computer programs and Lisp.
Like I'm biased against people that buy Apple. I'm just a little pissed off that I was talked to. I feel like I wasted a lot of money.
You know what? I use both very happily. I use both very happily. I can't wait till I get my Pixel 6, but I've got the iPhone in front of me, and I love both. And they both have their merits. Not one is not better than the other. They're just different. They're just different.
Definitely different.
They're not for you. That's fine. What phone do you use? You said the Notes. You like the Notes. Are you disappointed they're discontinuing those?
No, because actually, this phone is the first time I got. Well, this is the one that uses the S Pen, the S21 Ultra.
That's very nice.
And I bought a pin for it. And
yeah,
it's compatible backwards with the old pin.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Note. I think that's why they stopped making them. Is they've got the Fold and they've got the S21, so they don't really need the Notes anymore.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. Good call. I enjoyed talking.
Good call. Thank you, Jim. Hello, Mr. Spaceman.
Hey, that was an interesting conversation.
It's true, isn't it?
It is. And as I think I mentioned before, my father was in the LA Philharmonic for, 35, 36
Just
years.
Like Jim's father, yeah.
And there are a lot of engineering types in there. And you're right, those things go together, as they do with doctors in many cases.
That's right.
There's a whole doctor's orchestra in Los Angeles.
That's right.
And they're really good.
I think it's because music is essentially math, really.
Which is why I think I was crap at music. Because my math skills were moderate. I mean, I made it through calculus and stuff, but it wasn't natural or organic. Let's put it that way. And I was an adequate musician, but I just knew, I was going to hit this wall. So that was the end of it at high school. Anyway, enough personal stories.
Enough about me. What about you?
But it is interesting, and I spent a lot of years in Android. And my frustration wasn't so much the operating system; it was that there was very little years ago, little consistency in the apps. They were kind of all over the map, and the interfaces were sometimes awful. And I thought, okay, I'm going back to the iPhone. Worth the money, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, there are other reasons to use an iPhone. I like the flexibility and of a Android, although Android's not all that flexible. I mean, Linux, a Linux desktop is my standard for flexibility, or a Raspberry Pi.
That's pretty flexible. You can flex yourself right into having
no mobile device is all that flexible. I mean, I have a Pine phone which runs Linux, and it's god awful. But there's reasons why mobile operating systems have to be different from desktop operating systems. Anyway, but I pretty much always go back to the iPhone just for the functionality. Yeah, I can't do anything. Like, they've had the same basic interface on the screen since they came out. They just added widgets, for crying out loud.
Yeah. And if you want real communications flexibility, you can just get on ham radio.
Oh, man.
I mean, right?
It's a complicated equation. It's not as simple as this one's better than that one by any means.
Yeah.
Did you feel the quake?
No, not a bit. I had a couple of friends call me and say they felt the jolt. I slept right through it. Just work at JPL. Ask me.
Isn't that funny?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, spacemen of all ages, it's time for our rocket man himself, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine from the National Space Society, space.nss.org, author of many wonderful books, including First on the Moon, all about the Apollo astronauts to first walk on the moon. Mr. Rod Pyle is in the house. Actually, it looks like you're orbiting Mars, I think.
Yeah, I'm back up in the Mars station. And thank you for the best intro in the business. I appreciate it.
I get all the plugs in one sentence. It's amazing.
Yeah, you do, without even taking a breath. So, hey, this week.
Yes.
We've had a flash of the past. This week, we finally saw a moon rocket being stacked for the first time since 1972. So we got some pictures back of the SLS with the Orion capsule on top, which we've been waiting for a really long time.
Wow.
And, it's interesting. There's been less money spent than there was doing this in the 60s during the space race, but not enough less for it to take almost 20 years. So, originally the launch date of this upcoming flight, which is the first uncrewed flight of Orion around the moon. So they flew a uncrewed test flight in 2014, which you may remember. That was just an Earth orbit and did a high plunging trajectory and then came down to heat up the heat shield, but not as hot as it'll get coming back from the moon. But it was a good test. Then they were supposed to fly the circumlunar flight 2 years later. That didn't happen. And then they moved the date again and again and again. And now finally it looks like it's scheduled for February next year.
What do we learn from an unmanned flyby of the moon, though? We've been there. We've done that.
It's a test of everything except the life support systems, which is kind of interesting because you'd think that would be one of the big things. But those can be tested pretty well on the ground, although you never know entirely what's going to happen at zero-G. But we've been doing life support for
This is a big rocket, by the way. I'm watching the video.
Yeah, it's a stomper.
It's huge.
Not quite as big as the Saturn V, but it's big and it's the Saturn V was specifically designed to go to the moon and back. This is designed for more general purpose stuff, Earth orbit for heavy payloads, the moon, and possibly eventually some kind of a multi-launch Mars project. But at this point, we've got the launch scheduled for February 12th. And that will allow it to go out. And it's going to go for between a month and 6 weeks. This is a long flight. So it takes this kind of usual transit to the moon, about 5 or 6 days. But it's going to be in this really kind of oddball, and I should have sent you a graphic of it. I didn't, but this kind of oddball high orbit over the moon. Apollo was designed in a very brawny way so it could go right down to a low lunar orbit to make sure they got those guys down there safely and that they didn't have to go very far coming back. They're only up about 60 miles. This is going to be out at its furthest about a couple tens of thousands of miles.
Why?
Way above the moon. Well, for a couple of reasons. One, that's where the gateway is eventually going to be. The lunar gateway is going to be in this thing called.
Wait a minute. I didn't get the memo. We're building a lunar gateway?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the next space station. Well, it's a smaller version of the ISS.
ISS, but instead of in orbit around the Earth, it's in orbit around the moon?
Yeah, which is a really big thing because A, it's much harder to boost large masses out to the moon and assemble them there because you got to do that robotically. And B, it's out in radiation, right? So when you're in low Earth orbit, like the space station is, the ISS, you're protected from most of the radiation. Out there, you're going to be requiring the hull to do it. Yeah. So it'll be short deployments. I mean, we're talking about a month probably for a crew deployment.
Because it's going to get pretty beat up out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of controversy about the gateway. You know, some people feel that it's a very logical step in terms of planning for long-term Mars flights and being a stopping point for going to and from the moon, because that's, you know, in theory anyway, the Orion could go out there, deliver people to Elon Musk's Starship, and then that goes down the surface and so forth. Other people feel like, no, we just go there and we go down the surface like it did with Apollo. But in the case of this test flight, they are going to be up in the general neighborhood of where the gateway would go. So, you know, a month out there is a long time, but because it's uncrewed, it's no big deal. So in a few weeks, we're going to be seeing that stacked rocket that you see in that photo is going to be rolling out to pad 39B, because 39A, which most of the Apollo flights left from, is now SpaceX's. So it'll go down to the other big pad, and they're going to do what they call a wet fueling test to make sure they can pump the fuel in and out and get everything spun up. Then back to the vehicle assembly building for final checks and so forth, and then back out in, I think, late January. So this is exciting. We've been waiting for this a long time. We finally get to see another moon rocket.
Wow. And what I do like, it's got NASA on it, but it's also got the European Space Agency logo on it. It's a joint venture, isn't it? It's not just us.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they were trying to use as much heritage hardware as possible. So there's a lot of shuttle pieces in there. The solid rocket boosters on the sides are shuttle related. The engines at the bottom are shuttle related. And actually the European part, which is the service module, so that's the cylindrical part behind the Orion capsule that's got a couple of small rocket engines on it, are using old shuttle maneuvering engines. But weirdly, we had the Europeans put it together. But, you know.
What about Orion? Who's making Orion? Well, who's making the capsule?
Boeing.
Boing.
Boing.
Okay, stay away from the Orion Max. Stick with the regular Orion.
Actually, wait, is it Boeing or Lockheed?
It's in other words, it's a traditional NASA
it's
contractor.
A contractor. Yeah, but
it's not
still,
SpaceX, it's not Blue Origin. It's
not one of the new guys, but it is a slightly newer, you know, it's kind of a blend of the old contracting methods. NASA is keeping pretty tight control over it. Supposedly, it should be reusable. Now, I don't know if they will, because the stakes are pretty high going out to the moon and back, but in theory, it would be reusable.
I wonder why they're not using the Crew Dragon that SpaceX has. That's a pretty slick.
It is. Orion is about the same size, might be a little bigger, but it's specifically designed for long-term space flight and long-distance space flight, whereas Dragon is kind of a general purpose thing, primarily intended for orbit. Could go to the moon. But I think one other reason is Musk essentially said with Dragon, okay, we've done enough development on that. We've done enough development on the Falcon Heavy and the Falcon 9. I'm putting all my money on Starship, which is reusable from stem to stern. So that, I think, is really what limited what Dragon could do.
It's exciting. It's exciting. I feel like we're kind of at the beginning of the space age. I know we felt that way in the 60s, but we really are now.
And it's interesting because you think about, you know, what are we going to feel when we say these things go up? You and I are going to feel a lot of nostalgia, but for a whole lot of generations, most people are younger than us. They're going to be seeing this for the first time. So they may remember Apollo and they've seen documentaries and read articles, but this is going to be the first time they're going to see it live. So even though it's uncrewed, of course, we're going to be seeing video from lunar orbit, way better than the stuff we saw from those crummy old black and white TV cameras they had during Apollo.
It'll be beautiful. Yeah, we've been getting great images. Yeah. Orion is a Lockheed product, Lockheed Martin product.
Yeah.
They're building it at the Kennedy Space Center.
The rocket's Boeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I like everybody get involved. That's pretty exciting.
And it's interesting because this rocket is a little smaller in this configuration than the Saturn V. In the ultimate configuration, it'll be closer to the same overall dimensions. But it's actually got over 1 million pounds more thrust at liftoff, but it can deliver less cargo to the moon because the way they've got the stages designed, the upper stage is at this point, at least for the first version of this rocket, underpowered by most people's estimation. So it's only able to deliver about 60% of the mass out to the moon. So they'll probably have to do multiple flights for, Artemis, the Artemis missions that carry crews. It's a little confusing. There's an article coming up in Ad Astra, of course, where we're going to discuss all this. So I'll make sure you get that edition. Yeah. So I'm kind of vibrating on the edge of my seat because I just want it to work.
How many, once Orion is crewed, how many astronauts aboard?
The plan is for 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like the original moon missions.
It's like the old days.
Yeah.
They could take more, but last I saw it was 3.
If I wanted to get a copy of that for an intelligent teenager in my house, how would I get a subscription to Ad Astra Magazine?
Oh, God bless you. AdAstraMagazine.com.
AdAstraMagazine.com. Yeah.
You can join the National Space Society and get it included.
That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah. AdAstra.com or space.nss.org. Thank you so much, Mr. Rod Pyle.
Thank you.
Space Commander.
Always a pleasure.
So much you can do with spacemen.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited now. This is good. This is cool. Yeah. So I talked to Lisa, and she's kind of interested. So we're not going to do anything till we get back and so forth.
Okay.
But there's some interest. We'd have to talk about what you wanted to do it and all of that stuff. But we're kind of that's kind of intriguing. We've always wanted to do that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I thought maybe should I do like a test run for you guys?
What I would love you to do, just send us an email with what you want, what your thoughts are, what you imagine how this would work. How about that?
And the only thing that would be different from, I'm happy to mimic what you guys do. The only thing that might be different, I was thinking of having a co-host because
that's fine. That's not the issue. But do you want us to, the way we normally do shows is kind of like this, where we produce it here, but you could produce it. It's all sorts of, just tell us what you think, what you're thinking.
Okay.
What you're thinking.
I'll send you an email.
What's on your mind, Mr. Rod?
As possible.
Yeah.
I can post it, but if you guys want to do it for quality control purposes, that's great.
Okay. Well, just put that down.
Okay.
It'll help.
Well, that's good to hear. And when is that trip, by the way? Is it June, you said?
No, we're leaving.
Cruise?
The Alaska cruise is July. But we're leaving for Mexico. You're not here next week, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
No.
We're going to Mexico.
What if I come anyway?
Well, there'll be nobody here to talk to you. I'm leaving for Mexico on Wednesday, and I won't be back till the following Thursday. So we're going to skip a week.
Which parts of Mexico are you going to?
Oaxaca for the Day of the Dead.
Oh, that's right. I did hear you mention that. Yeah. Now, are they porting in LA at all, or is it straight down there?
It's not a cruise. We just fly to Oaxaca.
Oh, okay.
We're going down with Mike Elgin and Amira. They do this gastronomad.net thing where you go and you stay with them for a week, and they arrange all these meals and stuff. There's like 3 other couples. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We've always wanted to do one of their things.
This is the high life of a national radio star.
I'll tell you, champagne wishes and caviar dreams. That's all I can say.
Very well done.
All right. Thank you, Rod Pyle. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Cheers.
Cheers. Little oingo boingo. Or something. What is it? Absolutely. Oingo boingo. I thought I was just having a seizure there. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Richard's on the line. Are we? Is this the end? This is the end. This is the end, my friend. The end. From St. Charles, Illinois. Hello, Richard.
Hi. A couple years ago, my boy got into high school, and I had to get internet for him. I had a computer that was really quite good, and
now it's no good anymore. Is that? Go ahead. Yes.
Well, he converted it from Windows 7 to Windows 10, and I hate 10.
Oh boy.
How do I get back? Is that still resident on the hard drive?
No. It was for 60 days, I think. For a little while, you could roll it back, but I imagine this has been a while, yes? There's another reason why you might not want to. Windows 7 is no longer supported. So I don't recommend using Windows 7 because it's insecure.
Well, only if I go on the internet is it a problem.
Yeah,
right?
if you don't go online, you can do anything you want.
Yeah, I do not want to go online.
Oh, okay. So you can, you probably still have somewhere, I hope, the product code that you use, the serial number for Windows 7. If that's the case, then it's a simple enough process to download Windows 7. I think you can still get it from Microsoft as a ISO file, put it on an installer, and just install it onto that computer. But you will need the serial number that you had for that computer.
I don't know how to find that.
Well, it just varies. Dell, for instance, puts a sticker on it on the bottom, so you could check that. You can also use, there's something called the Bellark Advisor. I don't know if it works with Windows 10 to find your old Windows 7 product key, but it might. That's free from belarc.com. You can download it, run it, and it should give you if it's somewhere still stored, the license for Windows 7. You will need that. I mean, you can always buy, well, I don't know. Can you buy it? You may not. I mean, I'm serious. This operating system is long gone. So let me even see if you can download it. Windows 7 ISO. So Microsoft does offer, it looks like you might be able to still, you can download it. So if you Google Microsoft Windows 7 ISO file, you can, I think, download it. Who made the computer originally?
Oh, boy. I really don't know. A friend of mine put it together for me.
So it was homemade. Yeah, that may be part of the complication. Yeah. So you'd have to use the product key that, so if they bought a copy of Windows 7, they didn't give it to you, then you might be kind of out of luck on this. But try the Bellark Advisor, see if you can get that number. It looks like, I'm trying to see if Microsoft will let you download it. It's an unusual question because people, Windows 7 is so old now. Microsoft doesn't really want you to use it. But if you promise me you will never use it online, I think it's okay. We'll just have to find an ISO that you can install. You can also call Microsoft Product Support. They may help you. In fact, we're going to put a link. Mike B just found it on how to find your Windows product key that will help you. You'll have to get the ISO that matches the ISO you had. If it was a home-built computer, then probably you have a retail copy of Windows 7 installed, which is actually going to make it a lot easier for you. But you'll have to get the right version, Home or Pro, the one that you had on there, and then install it with that key. Yeah, probably was. And install it with that key. So I will put in the show notes, techguylabs.com. We're going to put a number of links, including how to find your Windows product key, presuming that the people who put it together used a legit copy of Windows 7. That should be all you'll need to install Windows 7. And then we're going to see if we can find a copy of Windows 7 lying around. Well, you'd think Microsoft would offer that as an ISO. Anyway, just some thoughts. He upgraded it to Windows 10 in place, I presume, not wiping the hard drive. If he wiped the hard drive, the product key is no longer on the hard drive. But if he upgraded in place, Windows 10 on top of Windows 7, it should still be there. This is, I have to say, an unusual call because we don't get a lot of people who want to go back to Windows 7. I guess I should probably say there are ways to make Windows 10 look a lot more like Windows 7. Depends what you like about Windows 7. But a company named stardock.com, makes a number of little $5 utilities that can make it look like Windows 7. Probably, I would encourage you to keep Windows 10, even though I know you don't like it, because under the hood, it is a lot more secure, a lot more modern. It's been a long time. Michael, Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Michael. Michael. Hello, Michael. Leo. Come on down. What's up?
Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. Long-time listener and a member of your TWiT.
Oh, Club TWiT. Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Bless you, Michael. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
Two quick questions. I'm actually an MSP myself, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out in Microsoft's infinite wisdom why they do what they do. But anyway,
that is a very you're a defeated MSP. And you're on the front lines. You should explain MSP's managed service provider. You contract IT services out to a number of different clients, which means you face every day the troubles, trials, and tribulations you hear on this radio show times 10.
Oh, yeah, times 10.
Times 10.
More tribulations, I would say.
Yes.
But anyways, I got a question. You know how they have in Office 365 the share feature where you can collaborate with other users to, like on a Word document, let's say?
Yep.
And you'll be there collaborating together. So it's very similar to the Google Doc.
Right.
That they have. So two-part question on that. It seems to only work in Word and Excel, and it doesn't work when you're trying to collaborate on an email. And I, for the life of me, have looked all over in Outlook and don't see that share feature. So, for example, if I'm collaborating with someone else on an email, I have to paste the body of the email into Word, open up a document in Word, then share it, and work on the email, and then copy and paste it back.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? That's a really good point. I don't know how you would do that. Share. Let me look here in Microsoft support. Share group files in Outlook. No. Doesn't look like you can do it.
Yeah, I don't think
it makes sense. I mean, I can see why they might say, well, why would you do that in an email? You'd probably want to do that in a Word document. As far as I know, they have not provided that feature, Outlook collaboration.
And then really I've discovered when collaborating in Word that it's just really slow, and sometimes you can't even see the person typing.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the Google Docs one is much better in terms of watching someone type and saying, oh, no, let's collaborate this. Or
all I can say is I think you're right.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're trying to sell SharePoint, a more robust solution. Hey, I'm out of time, Michael. What a pleasure meeting you. I feel bad. I'm sorry. Good luck. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great Geek Week.
You too.
Yeah, this would be a good one, Michael, since you're in the club. Go in the Discord or go in the IRC and see, because there's a lot of people in there who are smarter than I am on this stuff. I am not an expert on this kind of enterprise use of Microsoft products.
No problem.
Hey, it's a pleasure meeting you, though. What's your handle in the Discord?
I think it's Mach 3.
Okay, I'll look for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have a time for another quick question? Even though we're off air?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. On remote PC, I was just looking at that because we've been trying to change the RMM tool that we use at the office. And we do a lot of remote support on mobile devices. And it doesn't seem like they have actual remote support for mobile devices.
They're not really an enterprise solution. I know they pitch it for small businesses. They are not an enterprise solution, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
There are better choices out there, higher end enterprise. Yeah.
They just keep jacking up the rates.
I know.
It's just great.
Because they got you. What have you been using up till now?
We were using LogMeIn.
Yeah.
And TeamViewer.
Yeah.
Which, up until now, and I think just a one-user license was something like $3,000 a year.
Remote PC may have an enterprise version of.
Well, I looked at it. They do have an enterprise version. It just doesn't let you take over the mobile device, but you can, from your mobile device.
Right. It goes that way, but not the other way. Yeah.
The other way.
So you want mobile device control.
Yeah. And they have a product called AnyDesk, but it's not secured. It's not secured whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't, that's, again, something I'm not an expert in. You're much more an expert in this kind of thing than I am, Michael, I have to say.
Oh, but I love your show. I mean, I watch it. I listen to it every single weekend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Simon in the Discord is saying Citrix Go to Assist, which is a LogMeIn product, does have mobile device management with remote access. So maybe you have to look at, but it's more expensive, you're saying, is the problem. You want something less expensive. Yeah.
They keep kind of changing all the rates and jacking them up.
Sorry.
Nope, not your fault. Anyways,
I can see how beaten down you're getting. I'm so sorry, Michael.
Not a problem. I love the Discord, and
isn't it fun? Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And
Simon says he pays $12,000 a year for that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy.
Yeah. Oh well. Hey, great to talk to you, Michael. I'll see you in the Discord.
Great talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for calling. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.